Just before walking down the aisle, my fiancé's sister gave me a nasty look and said, "You'll never be the woman he loves most. I'll always come first." My fiancé laughed and said, "She's right, you know." I smiled and said, "Enjoy the wedding." Then I turned and walked straight into the limo with his biggest secret. I was supposed to get married last weekend. Everything was ready: the Plaza Hotel, a huge wedding, a Vera Wang dress, hundreds of guests, months of planning, and every detail checked. But I left, not because I had second thoughts, but because 10 minutes before the ceremony, I realized the man I was about to marry was a joke. Let's go back to the start. My fiancé, Nate, and I had been together for 4 years. We met in New York, both working in finance, both ambitious, both wanting the perfect life. I thought we were on the same page. I thought he was the one. I should have known better. The first red flag: his sister, Allison. She had no boundaries. She acted like his second girlfriend, sitting on his lap at family events and saying she was the most important woman in his life. She even had a meltdown when I moved in with him. She would openly say things like, "I don't think Nate should ever get married. He's meant to be free." At first, I told myself it was just an overprotective sibling thing. Some families are close. I thought once we got engaged, she'd back off. She didn't. If anything, she got worse. The second red flag: Nate didn't stop it. He would laugh it off and tell me I was overreacting. Even when I pointed out how weird it was that his sister threw a fit when he canceled dinner with her because we had plans, he just shrugged and said, "That's just how she is." Looking back, I should have seen the signs, but love can make you blind. Then there was the money issue. I knew Nate liked expensive things: designer suits, fancy watches, first-class flights, private clubs, but I thought he could afford it. We both worked in finance, so we made good money. But something always felt off. Like the time his card got declined at Cipriani, and he joked, "Oh, I must have hit my limit." Or when we were supposed to split the cost of a vacation, and he asked me to put it on my card. "I'll pay you back," he said. He never did. I convinced myself it wasn't a big deal, that maybe he was just bad at managing money. I even offered to help him organize his finances, but he brushed it off. The truth? I didn't know where his money was really coming from until 2 weeks before the wedding. At a charity gala, I met a man named Bradley Peters. We talked, and I mentioned I was getting married soon. He asked who my fiancé was, and when I told him, his face changed. "Brad. Nate, last name." "Yeah, that's him. Do you know him?" Brad laughed. "Yeah, I know him." He pulled out his phone and showed me a picture of him and Nate on a yacht in Ibiza. That wasn't the shocking part. The shocking part was that Nate was sitting on his lap. My stomach dropped. "How do you know him?" I asked. Brad smiled. "Didn't he tell you? We've been involved for a while." I couldn't believe it. Brad had been funding Nate's entire lifestyle for the past 3 years: rent, travel, clothes, everything. And Nate had led him to believe that I knew and was okay with it. "Wait, so you're together?" I asked. Brad sighed. "Not exactly." He made it sound like an arrangement, that you were on board. I was shaking. 2 weeks before the wedding, I found out my fiancé was someone's sugar baby, and he'd let me think he was just a rich guy who made bad spending choices. Brad was mad, but not at me. He lied to both of us. I didn't know what to say, so I just laughed because everything was so crazy I couldn't even process it. That's when Brad asked, "What do you want to do about it?" An idea started to form. I kept quiet in the days before the wedding, letting Nate think I was clueless. I let him pose for engagement pictures, go to his bachelor party, and send me texts about how he couldn't wait to spend his life with me. Then, 10 minutes before the ceremony, Allison came into the bridal suite. She walked up to me with a smirk and said, "You'll never be the woman he loves most. I'll always come first." Behind her, Nate appeared. Instead of stopping her, he laughed. He looked at me and laughed. Then he said, "She's right, you know." Something clicked inside me. I realized he was never going to put me first. Even without the Brad situation, even if we got married, I'd always be fighting for a place in my own husband's life. And I was done. So I smiled, handed Allison my bouquet, and said, "Enjoy the wedding." Then I turned, walked out, and got into the limo where Brad was waiting. The door shut behind me and the air conditioning hit me, making me feel a bit better after the intense heat. Brad sat across from me, a glass of whiskey in his hand. That bad, huh? He asked, raising an eyebrow. I exhaled slowly, feeling adrenaline rush through me. Worse. Brad smirked. Drink. Without hesitating, I popped the champagne bottle and poured myself a glass. I needed to calm down. Brad took a sip of his whiskey and asked, "So, what's the next move?" I wasn't done. I didn't just want to leave. I wanted to make sure Nate never forgot what he lost. I wanted him to feel the way I felt. How fast can you ruin his life? I asked. Brad grinned. Back in the ballroom, chaos was already starting. At first, no one noticed I was gone. People were chatting, sipping champagne, waiting for the ceremony to start. Then the whispering began. Where's the bride? Is there a delay? Nate was standing near the altar, pretending everything was fine. Then a hotel staff member approached him. Sir, the man said, we need to discuss an issue with the billing. Nate frowned. Billing? Yes, the charges on the main card have been declined repeatedly. At first, Nate laughed, but his expression changed when he realized Brad had already made the call. Within minutes, vendors were pulling out. The catering service refused to serve any more food. The bartenders stopped serving drinks. The wedding planner stormed up to Nate, demanding immediate payment. Then the music stopped. Total silence. The officiant turned to Nate and asked, "Where's the bride?" That's when panic hit. His perfect wedding was falling apart, and I wasn't even there to watch it burn. Brad checked his phone. The plaza is shutting everything down. The bartenders aren't serving. The DJs are packing up. This should be fun. I took another sip of champagne. Not enough. Brad smirked. You're ruthless. You just figuring that out. He laughed. All right, what else? I leaned back, my mind racing. Then I had an idea. You said he used your money for everything, right? Brad nodded. The apartment, the car, everything. Take it back. Brad's grin widened. Now we're talking. He made another call. Within minutes, Nate's apartment was no longer his. The keys were taken back. The Porsche was being towed. His credit cards were frozen. By the time Nate realized what was happening, he'd be homeless, broke, and humiliated. And I wasn't done yet. Then Brad's phone rang. His expression changed when he saw who it was. He hesitated before answering. What? He said sharply. I watched Brad carefully. His smirk faded, and his face tightened. Something was wrong. Are you sure? He asked. There was a long pause, then he cursed quietly and hung up. What's going on? I asked. He sighed and rubbed his jaw. There's an issue. A bad feeling crept up my spine. What kind of issue? Brad looked at me. Turns out, I wasn't the only one Nate was getting money from. I froze. What? Brad leaned forward. There's another guy. A bigger deal than me. Someone with real power, and he's looking for Nate. My heart dropped. Who are we talking about? Brad ran his hand through his hair. Damon Russo. I felt a chill run through me. Everyone in Manhattan knew that name. Damon Russo wasn't just rich, he was dangerous. A guy like him didn't take kindly to being scammed, and Nate had scammed him too. Brad shook his head. If Nate thinks losing his wedding is bad, he has no idea what's coming next. I took a deep breath. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. This was about survival. The limo was silent except for the faint hum of the city outside. I set my champagne down, my hands gripping the glass a little too hard. What do you mean Nate scammed Damon Russo? I asked. Brad exhaled sharply. Damon doesn't just throw money around for fun. He expects something in return. And if he doesn't get it, things get messy. I swallowed. Messy? How? Brad gave me a long look. You ever hear about the hedge fund guy who disappeared last year? I nodded. Yeah, some billionaire. What happened? Doesn't matter. The point is, he owed Damon money. One day he's on his yacht, the next, gone. No trace. That's how Damon handles things. A cold chill went down my spine. I've been thinking small revenge, ruining the wedding, freezing his credit, watching him fall apart. But this was much bigger. Back at the plaza, Nate was unraveling. The moment he realized I was gone, panic hit him. He snapped at the wedding planner. What do you mean she left? He shouted. The poor woman looked like she wanted to vanish. She walked out, sir, she said. She left the bouquet with your sister and just walked out. What? With Allison? Nate turned and saw his sister holding my bouquet, her face red and furious. He snapped. What did you say to her? Allison didn't speak. She knew she was at fault. She'd pushed too hard, and now Nate had nothing. His phone buzzed. A text from his building's concierge. Nate, there's an issue with your lease. Please contact management. Another text. Porsche Financial Services. Your account has been terminated. Your vehicle is being repossessed. His face went pale. Something was seriously wrong. Then another text, this one from an unknown number. Damon Russo wants to see you. His hands went cold. That was the text that could cost him everything. Brad's phone rang again. He looked at the screen, then pressed it to speaker. Damon, Brad said calmly. A deep voice filled the car. I hear you've been playing games with my money. I froze. Brad shot me a look, signaling me to stay quiet. Damon, Brad said, this isn't about me. Then who's it about? Brad's jaw tightened. Nate. Damon laughed. Ah, little rat. I had a feeling. You see, Brad, I don't like when people waste my time. And your boy, Nate, he's wasted a lot of it. Brad leaned forward. What did he do? Damon sighed. He convinced me to invest in a fake deal, a shell company. Thousands of dollars gone, and now he thinks he can walk away. I felt my stomach twist. This wasn't just Nate being a fraud with sugar daddies. This was serious. Brad rubbed his face. How much are we talking? Damon paused. $3 million. I almost choked. $3 million. Nate had scammed a man like Damon Russo and thought he could get away with it. I gripped Brad's arm. If Damon finds him first, what happens? Brad met my gaze and turned back to the phone. Damon, let me handle this. Damon's voice was cold. You don't handle things, Brad. You throw money at them. But unfortunately, I don't want money. I want him. The call ended. My heart raced. I thought I was leaving Nate to financial ruin, but I didn't realize I might be leaving him to something much worse. Brad rubbed his temples. This is bad. I nodded. Yeah, no kidding. Then I straightened. Brad, we have to find him first. Brad blinked. Why the hell would we do that? Because I said, gripping my champagne glass tight. As much as I hate him, I don't want him dead. Brad sighed. All right, so where do we start? I grabbed my phone and started typing. I knew Nate. If he was going to run, there was only one place he'd go, and I was going to be there waiting for him. Brad drove. I sat in the passenger seat, focused on my phone, figuring out where Nate might be. We needed something fast, something low profile. Nate wasn't at the plaza anymore. I knew because his name popped up on my phone. I hesitated, then answered. Where the hell are you? His voice was frantic. Don't play games with me. You need to. You think I'm going to help you? I snapped. After everything I know about Brad, about Damon, you lied to me for years. He stammered. I didn't lie. I just. You thought I wouldn't find out. Silence. Then, Allison said something to you, didn't she? I laughed. Of course. Of course, he'd think his sister was the problem. You've got bigger problems than Allison, I said. Brad gestured for me to put the call on speaker. I did. Nate, Brad said smoothly, Damon wants his money. There was a pause. Then, I don't have it. Brad shook his head. Wrong answer. Nate's voice cracked. Please, you have to help me. You still have money. You can. Brad laughed. Oh, now you want my help? What happened to all that cocky attitude? Nate sounded small now. I messed up. Brad clenched his jaw. Yeah, you did. And Damon's not exactly forgiving. I can fix this. I just need time. You don't have time. I leaned in. Where are you, Nate? Silence. Then, the apartment. I glanced at Brad. The one you just revoked his lease on. Brad smirked. Yep. When we arrived, the doorman wouldn't let us up. Mr. Last Name is no longer a resident, he said. Brad slipped him 100. Will be 10 minutes. The doorman hesitated but nodded. We took the elevator up. The hallway was eerily quiet. Then we saw Nate, sitting outside his apartment, disheveled, hands over his face. He looked up when he saw us. You did this, he said to Brad. Brad snorted. You did this to yourself. I crossed my arms. Stand up. Nate hesitated but got up slowly. I stared at him. Did you ever love me? I asked. He flinched. Of course I did. I tilted my head. So when you were in Ibiza with Brad or scamming Damon Russo, was that love? He clenched his jaw. Was it love when you laughed at Allison's comment instead of defending me? Was it love when you used his money for our wedding? Nate exhaled, shoulders slumping. I didn't want you to know. No, you didn't want me to know you were a fraud. His eyes flashed. No, I was never enough. I stopped. He swallowed. I grew up watching guys like Brad and Damon. Powerful men who had everything. I wanted to be like them. I wanted to give you the world. I stared at him, trying to process that. That's not love, I said. That's vanity. His face crumpled. I was going to tell you after the wedding, he said. I was going to fix it. Brad left. You think Damon would let you walk away? Nate's hands balled into fists. What do I do? I shook my head. That's not my problem anymore. Then I turned to Brad. Let's go. I didn't look back. Nate tried calling. Blocked. Allison sent a 3-page email blaming me for ruining her brother's life. I replied with one sentence. Enjoy being the most important woman in his life. Blocked. Damon found Nate. I don't know what happened after that, but I know Nate left the city. Gone. Vanished. I didn't ask questions. Brad and I kept in touch. Turns out we make great business partners. Who knew? As for me, I walked away free. No wedding. No fraud. No Nate. Just me, a glass of champagne, and the rest of my life ahead. And honestly, I've never felt lighter.
The message arrived during our first wedding anniversary dinner. One simple text that shattered everything I thought I knew about my marriage. I watched Ethan's face change as he read his phone under the dim lighting of Atlas, Atlanta's most exclusive restaurant, the same restaurant where he had proposed exactly 2 years ago. I have to go, he said, already standing up. Emergency board meeting. Now, it's 9 in the evening. I gripped my wine glass tighter, the stem threatening to snap between my fingers. On our anniversary? He wouldn't meet my eyes. The Singapore deal. You know how crucial this is for the company. Of course I knew. Turner Technologies had been chasing this merger for months, but tonight was supposed to be different. Special. You promised, Ethan. No work tonight. Kylie, please. His voice carried that edge of condescension he used when he thought I was being unreasonable. We'll celebrate properly next weekend. I'll take you anywhere you want. I watched him adjust his tie, noticed how his fingers trembled slightly. In 15 months of marriage, I'd never seen his hands shake. At least let me drive you, I offered, reaching for my purse. No need. Car's already waiting. He dropped a quick kiss on my forehead. Don't wait up. The maitre d' materialized with Ethan's coat, too quickly for it to have been a spontaneous departure. This had been planned. I sat alone at our table, staring at his half-finished Wagyu steak and the champagne he hadn't touched. The anniversary gift in my purse suddenly felt foolish, a handmade album chronicling our first year together. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Your husband isn't at any board meeting. Ask him about Sophia Hayes. I read the message 3 times, each word burning deeper into my mind. Sophia Hayes. The name wasn't entirely unfamiliar. She was Ethan's new business partner, brought in 6 months ago to help with international expansion. Is everything all right, madam? The waiter hovered nearby, concern etched on his face. Yes, I gestured vaguely at the table. Could you pack this up? My hands were steady as I gathered my things, signed the check, accepted the carefully packaged leftovers. Outside, the valet brought my car around. I sat behind the wheel, not starting the engine. Another text arrived, this time with an attachment. The photo showed Ethan entering the St. Regis, Sophia Hayes' slim figure preceding him through the revolving doors. The timestamp read 9:17 p.m., 7 minutes ago. I zoomed in on his face. He was smiling. Not the practiced corporate smile he wore at business functions, but the real one, the one I thought belonged to me. My phone rang. Mia's name flashed on the screen. Hey, how's the anniversary dinner going? Her voice was bright, excited. It's not. I surprised myself with how calm I sounded. Ethan had an emergency board meeting. What? On your anniversary? That's bull. He's at the St. Regis. I cut her off. With Sophia Hayes. Silence stretched between us. Then, I'm coming over. Don't do anything stupid before I get there. I'm fine, I said, starting the car. Really, I just need to think. Kylie. Mia's voice turned sharp. Promise me you won't confront him tonight. Not until we figure this out. I watched another couple exit Atlas, laughing, wrapped up in each other. The woman wore red, like me. The man had his arm around her waist, protective, proud. I promise, I lied, pulling into traffic. I'm heading home now. I ended the call and typed the St. Regis into my GPS, 15 minutes away. Traffic was light. The second anonymous text arrived as I waited at a red light. There's more you need to know, much more. When you're ready to hear it, call this number. I saved the contact under truth and pressed harder on the accelerator. The city lights blurred around me as I drove toward the hotel where my husband was betraying everything we'd built together. Some anniversaries mark beginnings, others mark endings. Tonight would be both. The St. Regis lobby gleamed with old money and secrets. I sat in a leather armchair, watching the elevator numbers change, my hands perfectly still in my lap. 3 hours had passed since I'd arrived, and still no sign of Ethan or his emergency board meeting. My phone buzzed. Mia again. Where are you, really? She demanded. Exactly where I shouldn't be. I kept my voice low, watching a couple stumble past, giggling into each other's necks. But exactly where I need to be. Get out of there, now. You're just torturing yourself. The elevator dinged. My heart stopped, then started again when an elderly couple emerged. I can't leave. Not until... Until what? Until you see them together? What good will that do? Before I could answer, Rebecca Turner's voice cut through the lobby like a blade. Kylie, what an unexpected surprise. My mother-in-law stood before me in a midnight blue evening gown. Perfect makeup at midnight, not a silver hair out of place. Of course she'd be here. The Turners practically owned the hotel. I rose, smoothing my anniversary dress. Rebecca, I was just looking for Ethan. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. He mentioned the board meeting, such unfortunate timing. Did he mention where exactly this meeting was taking place? Rebecca's perfectly manicured hand touched my arm. Her grip was gentle but firm. Darling, let's have a drink. The bar here makes an excellent martini. Gotta go, I whispered into the phone, ending Mia's protests. The bar was nearly empty. Rebecca ordered 2 martinis without consulting me. You know, she said, stirring her olive, when Jonathan and I first married, I made similar mistakes. Mistakes? Showing up unannounced, questioning his work commitments. It's natural to feel insecure when marrying into a family like ours. The martini arrived. I left it untouched. I'm not insecure. I'm observant. Are you? Her voice hardened slightly. Then you must have observed how crucial this Singapore merger is, how much pressure Ethan is under. And Sophia Hayes? How crucial is she? Rebecca's pause was microscopic, but telling. She's an invaluable asset to the company. Her connections in Asian markets are unparalleled. Is that all she is? Careful, Kylie. Rebecca set her glass down with precise control. Accusations without evidence can be dangerous, especially in our circles. My phone buzzed again. Another message from the unknown number. Check the presidential suite, room 2401. You're right, I said, standing. I should go home. Thank you for the drink. Rebecca's relief was palpable. I'll have Thomas bring your car around. No need. I'd like to use the restroom first. She nodded, already reaching for her phone, probably to warn Ethan. I waited until she left, then headed for the service elevator I'd noticed earlier. The keycard I'd charmed from a sympathetic housekeeper burned in my clutch. Floor 24 was silent. The presidential suite door loomed at the end of the hall like a challenge. I raised my hand to knock, then stopped. What would I actually achieve? Catch them in the act? Create a scene? Become the hysterical wife Rebecca already thought I was? My phone buzzed one final time. Sometimes knowing is worse than suspecting. Are you sure you're ready? I stared at the message, remembering Ethan's trembling hands at dinner, Rebecca's calculated intervention, the weight of unspoken threats beneath her polite warnings. The elevator dinged. I turned to see Sophia Hayes step out, her black dress a second skin, her expression freezing when she saw me. Mrs. Turner, she said, recovering quickly. This is unexpected. Is it? I smiled, channeling Rebecca's perfect poise. I thought we should finally meet properly, since you're such an invaluable asset to the company. She matched my smile with equal insincerity. Perhaps we should discuss this tomorrow, in a more appropriate setting. Oh, I think this setting is perfect. I gestured to the suite door. Shall we see if my husband agrees? The mask slipped for just a second, showing something like respect. You're not what they said you'd be. No, I agreed, turning toward the elevator. I'm much worse. I left her standing there, my head high, my heart hammering. I had what I needed now: confirmation, witnesses, and most importantly, the knowledge that I wasn't crazy. The game they'd been playing had rules I was just beginning to understand, but I was a quick learner, and I had nothing left to lose. The manila envelope landed on my desk with a soft thud. Inside were dozens of photos, surveillance shots from the past 3 months. Ethan and Sophia at various hotels, restaurants, intimate moments they thought were private. But the most damning image wasn't of their affair at all. Look at the last one, Liam said, leaning against my office wall. The private investigator's expression remained neutral, professional. The final photo showed Sophia in what looked like a private meeting room, shaking hands with Turner Technologies' biggest competitor. The timestamp was from yesterday. Corporate espionage, I said, my voice hollow. She's not just sleeping with my husband. She's selling company secrets. There's more. Liam handed me a USB drive. Financial records, wire transfers, your husband's signature on some very interesting documents. My phone buzzed. Ethan's face appeared on the screen. I let it ring. He's been calling all morning, I said. Probably figured out I hired you. What's your next move? Before I could answer, my office door burst open. Rebecca Turner stood there, perfectly coiffed as always, but her eyes blazed with fury. How dare you hire a private investigator? She strode in, ignoring Liam completely. Do you have any idea what you've done? I spread the photos across my desk. Exactly what I needed to do, apparently. These mean nothing. She swept them aside with one manicured hand. You're seeing conspiracies where there's only business. Business. I pulled out the competitor meeting photo. Is this the kind of business Turner Technologies conducts now? Something flickered in Rebecca's eyes, fear maybe, or recognition. You're in over your head, Kylie. Stop this now and we can pretend it never happened. Like you're pretending Sophia isn't destroying your company from the inside out? You don't understand. I understand perfectly. I stood up, matching her height in my heels. The question is, does Jonathan know what his precious son and his new partner are doing to his legacy? Rebecca's face went white. Leave Jonathan out of this. Why? Because he's sick? Because the stress might kill him? I leaned forward. Or because he'd actually do something about it? The slap caught me off guard. The sting spread across my cheek as Rebecca stared at her own hand in horror. Mrs. Turner, Liam stepped forward, his voice carrying a warning. It's fine, I said, never breaking eye contact with my mother-in-law. Rebecca was just leaving. She gathered herself, straightening her designer jacket. Think very carefully about your next move, Kylie. Some wars aren't worth fighting. After she left, Liam whistled low. Well, that confirms it. They're scared. My phone buzzed again. This time, a text from Ethan. We need to talk. Please, I can explain everything. Another message followed immediately. Don't show those photos to anyone. You don't understand what's at stake. What's your professional opinion? I asked Liam, touching my stinging cheek. Professionally? Take the evidence to the board. Let them handle it. He paused. Personally? There's something bigger going on here. The way they're reacting. This goes deeper than an affair. My computer pinged. A new email from the anonymous source who'd first tipped me off about Sophia. Ready for the real story? Meet me at the Botanical Gardens. 3 p.m., come alone. Could be a trap, Liam said, reading over my shoulder. Could be answers. I gathered the photos, securing them in my safe. Sometimes you have to walk into the trap to spring it. Want me to follow at a distance? I shook my head. No, but stay close to your phone. If I'm not out by 4 p.m., release everything we have to the board. And if they try to bury it, then release it to every media outlet in Atlanta. I grabbed my coat. The Turners aren't the only ones who know how to play hardball. My phone buzzed one final time. Sophia, you're making a mistake. Some secrets are kept secret for a reason. I deleted the message without responding. They were all so concerned about protecting their secrets, their legacy, their precious company. None of them had stopped to consider that maybe I had secrets of my own. Maybe it was time they learned what happened when you underestimated the woman they'd welcomed into their perfect family. After all, the best revenge isn't served cold. It's served exactly when they least expect it. The botanical gardens felt too peaceful for the conversation I was about to have. My anonymous source had chosen the orchid room, humid, private, filled with rare blooms that probably cost more than my car. I recognized Jonathan Turner immediately, sitting alone on a marble bench. My father-in-law looked smaller than I remembered, frailer. The company's official story was that he'd stepped down due to health issues. Seeing him now, I wondered if that hadn't been another carefully crafted lie. "You're the one who sent the photos," I said, remaining standing. He nodded, not looking at me. "Sophia Hayes isn't just destroying my company. She's destroying my son." "And you let her?" "Sit down, Kylie, please." His hands trembled slightly as he patted the space beside him. "There are things you need to understand." I sat, keeping distance between us. Through the glass walls, I could see Liam's car in the parking lot, despite my instructions. Some people just couldn't follow orders. "Turner Technologies is being investigated by the SEC," Jonathan said quietly. "Fraud, money laundering, things that could send people to prison." "Sophia's doing? If only it were that simple." He pulled out a folder, aged and worn. "This goes back years. Before Sophia, before Ethan took over. My signature is on everything." The implications hit me like a physical blow. "You're protecting him, letting Sophia take the fall." "I'm dying, Kylie. Cancer. 6 months, maybe less." His voice remained steady, matter of fact. "My last act will be taking responsibility for everything. The company will survive. Ethan will be clear of suspicion. And Sophia? Does she know she's your scapegoat?" A slight smile crossed his face. "She thinks she's outsmarting us all, playing Ethan, orchestrating a takeover. She has no idea she's exactly where we need her to be." My phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. "Where are you? We need to talk. Now." "Does he know?" I asked Jonathan. "About the cancer?" "No one does, except Rebecca." He touched my arm gently. "And now you." "Why tell me?" "Because you have a choice to make." He handed me the folder. "These documents prove everything. What you do with them will determine the future of this family." Another text from Ethan. "Dad's missing, Mom's worried, call me back." "You're asking me to help destroy an innocent woman to save your guilty son. I'm asking you to understand that justice isn't always clean." Jonathan stood slowly, his movements careful. Sometimes protecting the people we love means becoming someone we never thought we'd be. My phone rang. Mia this time. I silenced it. What if I go public with everything? The affair, the fraud, all of it. Then Turner Technologies falls. Thousands lose their jobs. The family name becomes worthless. He started walking away, then paused. And Ethan goes to prison anyway. The evidence against him is overwhelming. "You planned this whole thing," I realized. Meeting Sophia, bringing her into the company. You needed someone to take the fall. He didn't deny it. "The question isn't what I did, Kylie. It's what you'll do now." After he left, I sat alone among the orchids, holding a folder that could destroy everything. My phone kept buzzing. Ethan, Mia, Rebecca, even Liam now. A final text came through from Sophia. "Whatever Jonathan told you is a lie. Meet me. I can prove it." I opened the folder, reading documents that showed years of systematic fraud. Jonathan's signature everywhere, protecting Ethan like he always had, like any father would. But there, in the margins of one document, was a detail Jonathan hadn't mentioned. A single name that changed everything. Mark Turner, my father. His signature, right next to Jonathan's, on documents dated years before I'd even met Ethan. The orchids suddenly felt suffocating, their perfect beauty a mockery. I pulled out my phone, scrolling through my contacts until I found the number I needed. "Liam, I need you to look into something else. My father's connection to Turner Technologies." I paused, watching a rare black orchid sway in the artificial breeze. And clear your schedule. This just got a lot more complicated. Sometimes the real betrayal isn't the one you're looking for. It's the one that's been there all along, hiding in plain sight, waiting for the perfect moment to bloom. The lock on my office door had been changed, my keycard deactivated. Even my company email returned error messages. Mrs. Turner's security clearance has been revoked, the guard explained, not meeting my eyes. Direct orders from Mr. Turner. I stood in the lobby of Turner Technologies, watching employees hurry past, their gazes carefully averted. Just yesterday, I'd been one of them. Now I was a stranger in my own workplace. My phone buzzed. Another email from a client canceling their contract, the third one today. Someone had been busy spreading rumors about my mental instability and unprofessional conduct. Need a ride? Liam appeared beside me, casual as if he'd been there all along. I need more than that. I handed him my phone, opened to the latest message from my father. He's not returning my calls. Mom says he's dealing with some business matters. Liam scanned the message. Your father's bank records came in. Regular deposits from an offshore account starting 15 years ago. Same account that's linked to the Turner Technologies fraud. The marble floor seemed to tilt beneath my feet. He was part of it from the beginning. There's more. Liam hesitated. Your marriage to Ethan? The chance meeting at that charity gala? It was arranged. Your father orchestrated the whole thing. A laugh bubbled up, harsh, unfamiliar. So I'm what? The sacrificial lamb? Insurance against investigation? Your leverage. Sophia's voice cut through the lobby. She stood by the elevators, perfectly poised in designer white, though not the kind they intended. Security moved toward her, but she held up a hand. It's fine. Mrs. Turner and I are just having a friendly chat. Nothing about this is friendly, I said, but followed her to a quiet corner. Liam kept his distance, watching. They're going to pin everything on me, Sophia said quietly. The fraud, the takeover attempt, all of it, unless we stop them. Why should I believe you? Because unlike everyone else in your life, I have no reason to lie. She pulled out her phone, showed me an email chain. Your father arranged your marriage because the Turners were threatening to expose him. You were his protection. Now you're their insurance. My hands clenched. And Ethan? Was he part of this plan? Ethan? She smiled sadly. Ethan's just like you. Another pawn in their game, though he figured it out sooner. The elevator dinged. Ethan stepped out, freezing when he saw us. The bruise-like circles under his eyes matched mine. Kylie. He started forward, then stopped as Liam moved closer. Please, just let me explain. Explain what? My voice carried across the lobby. How our entire marriage was a business transaction? How you slept with Sophia to, rebel against Daddy's plans? I loved you, he said quietly. That part was real. Nothing about this is real. I turned to leave, but Sophia caught my arm. The company gala is tomorrow night, she whispered. Jonathan plans to announce his retirement, name Ethan as CEO, and subtly implicate me in everything. Once that happens, it's over. For all of us. My phone buzzed again. A message from Rebecca. We need to talk. About your father. About everything. Why are you telling me this? I asked Sophia. Because I'm tired of being a pawn too. She released my arm. The question is, are you ready to be a queen instead? I looked at Ethan, still standing frozen by the elevators. At Liam, watching everything with calculated interest. At the employees pretending not to stare, wondering which side of history they should choose. The gala, I said finally. What exactly are you proposing? Sophia smiled, not her usual practice smile, but something sharper. They want to play happy families? Let's give them a reunion they'll never forget. My phone buzzed one final time. My father. Whatever they're telling you, don't listen. Remember whose daughter you are. That was the problem, wasn't it? I was exactly my father's daughter. And tomorrow night, they'd all learn what that really meant. I'll need access to certain files, I told Sophia, and a guarantee that when this is over, everyone pays, not just your chosen scapegoats. Everyone, she agreed, including your father. I nodded, feeling something cold and certain settle in my chest. Then let's give them what they want. One last perfect family gathering. After all, what's a party without a few surprises? The gala invitation felt heavy in my hands, embossed letters catching the light. Turner Technologies celebrates excellence, as if excellence included fraud, betrayal, and carefully orchestrated marriages. I adjusted my black dress in the mirror, noticing how different I looked. Harder, colder, more like Rebecca than I'd ever wanted to be. "Everything's in place," Liam said through my earpiece. "Thumb drive's loaded with the evidence. Just needs to be connected to their presentation system." "And my father?" "Arrived 10 minutes ago. He's with Jonathan Turner in the private lounge." Of course he was. Conspirators to the end. The St. Regis ballroom glittered with wealth and pretense. Sophia stood near the stage in deep red, playing her part perfectly. Ethan worked the crowd, his smile never reaching his eyes. Rebecca held court by the champagne fountain, probably already planning damage control. "Kylie." My father appeared beside me, his familiar cologne now sickeningly sweet. "We need to talk." "About what? The arranged marriage? The fraud? Or how about those offshore accounts?" "Listen to me very carefully." His voice dropped low, urgent. "Whatever you're planning tonight, don't. You have no idea what you're really involved in." "I know enough." "No, you don't." He gripped my arm, hard enough to bruise. "This goes beyond the company, beyond the Turners. There are people who will make sure you never—" "Mark." Jonathan Turner's voice cut through the tension. "I believe your wife is looking for you." My father released me, straightening his tie. "Think about what I said, sweetheart. Please." I watched him disappear into the crowd, rubbing my arm where his fingers had left marks. 10 minutes until the announcement," Liam said in my ear. I moved toward the tech booth, champagne glass in hand, playing the part of the dutiful wife. "Almost there." "Going somewhere?" Rebecca blocked my path, steel beneath her smile. "The family's sitting up front for the announcement. Together." "Of course," I matched her tone. "Wouldn't want to break tradition." She guided me to the reserved table, keeping a perfectly manicured hand on my shoulder. Ethan sat to my left, Sophia across from us. A tableau of family unity, ready for the cameras. Jonathan took the stage, looking frail but determined. "Tonight marks a new chapter for Turner Technologies." "Now, Kylie," Liam urged, before the announcement. I started to rise, but Ethan's hand found mine under the table. "Don't," he whispered. "Why not? Afraid of the truth?" "Afraid for you." His grip tightened. "They killed someone over this, Kylie, 10 years ago, a whistleblower." The room seemed to tilt. "What? Why do you think I played along? Why do you think your father arranged this marriage? It wasn't just about money." On stage, Jonathan was building to his big moment. Rebecca's hand remained on my shoulder, a warning disguised as affection. "Your mother's accident last year?" Ethan's voice barely a whisper now. "It wasn't an accident." The champagne turned to acid in my stomach. The car crash that had put my mother in physical therapy for months. The brake failure that everyone called a miracle because she survived. 3 minutes, Liam said, oblivious to the revelation. "It's now or never." I looked at Sophia, saw the same knowledge in her eyes. This wasn't just about corporate fraud anymore. This was about murder, about my mother, about how far they'd go to keep their secrets. "And now," Jonathan announced, "I'm proud to present the future of Turner Technologies." The thumb drive felt like it was burning through my clutch. One move and I could expose everything. But at what cost? "Make your choice," Sophia mouthed silently. Rebecca's grip tightened. My father watched from across the room, fear evident in his stance. Ethan's hand trembled in mine. The spotlight swept over our table, highlighting the perfect family picture we presented. In that moment, I realized why revenge stories never end well. Because sometimes the truth doesn't set you free. Sometimes it just shows you how deep the darkness really goes. I reached for my champagne glass with steady hands, raised it in a toast to Jonathan on stage, and made my decision. After all, the best revenge isn't served at a party. It's served one piece at a time, when they least expect it. And I could be very, very patient. 3 weeks after the gala, I walked into Turner Technologies carrying nothing but a USB drive and 15 years of buried secrets. The security guard nodded me through, my clearance mysteriously restored yesterday after an administrative error. The boardroom was already full. Jonathan Turner sat at the head, looking more ghost than CEO. Ethan and Rebecca flanked him like royal guards. My father occupied his usual seat, fingers drumming an anxious rhythm on the mahogany table. Sophia's chair remained conspicuously empty. "Mrs. Turner?" Jonathan gestured to the vacant seat. "Thank you for accepting our invitation." I remained standing. Interesting timing, right after Sophia's unfortunate accident. The room temperature seemed to drop. Sophia's car crash had made headlines, brake failure just like my mother's, except Sophia hadn't survived. "A tragedy," Rebecca murmured. "We're all devastated." "Are we?" I connected my drive to the presentation system. "Because I have proof that someone accessed Sophia's car's computer system remotely, the same way they did with my mother's car last year." Ethan's head snapped up. My father's drumming stopped. "Careful, Kylie." Jonathan's voice carried a warning. "Grief can make us imagine things. Nothing imaginary about this." The screen filled with code, the same signature in both accidents. Or about the whistleblower's death 10 years ago, or the offshore accounts, or my arranged marriage. "That's enough." Rebecca stood, reaching for the remote. "Sit down, Rebecca." The command came from Ethan, surprising everyone. "Let her finish." I pulled up more documents, years of evidence Sophia had helped me compile before they killed her. "You were right about one thing. I didn't understand what I was involved in. But Sophia did. She left me everything." "Sophia was unstable," my father interjected. "Her evidence wouldn't hold up in court." I smiled. "It already has. The SEC received everything this morning. So did the FBI, and every major news outlet in the country." The boardroom erupted. Rebecca lunged for the presentation controls. My father started shouting about family loyalty. Jonathan remained eerily still, watching me with something like respect. "You've destroyed us all," Rebecca hissed. "No." I finally sat down, directly across from Ethan. "You did that yourselves. I'm just making sure everyone pays the right price." "Including me?" Ethan asked quietly. "Especially you." I met his gaze. "You knew about my mother's accident. You could have warned me." "I tried. Not hard enough." Jonathan's laugh cut through the chaos, a harsh, rattling sound. "Well played, Kylie, but you've overlooked one detail." He pressed a button under the table. "We still control the narrative." Security flooded the room. Not Turner Technologies security, private contractors with cold eyes and concealed weapons. "The same team that handled Sophia?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. "Among others." Jonathan stood slowly. "Your evidence will be tragically lost in a server fire, and you'll be remembered as another unstable whistleblower who couldn't handle the pressure." "Check your phones," I said. One by one, they did. Their faces drained of color as they saw the live stream, everything being broadcast directly from the boardroom. Liam's parting gift, hidden cameras capturing every threat, every admission. 2 million viewers and counting, I noted. "Still think you control the narrative?" The private security team's radios crackled. FBI in the lobby, SWAT teams surrounding the building. "It's over," I told Jonathan. "The only question is whether you'll face justice or try to escape it like Sophia." Rebecca crumpled into her chair. My father buried his face in his hands. But Ethan started laughing. "You magnificent bitch," he said, admiration clear in his voice. "You played us all." I learned from the best. I stood as federal agents entered the room. Family tradition, right? Jonathan Turner, architect of so much pain, finally looked his age. "You truly are your father's daughter." "No," I corrected him, watching handcuffs close around wrists that had once held so much power. "I'm my mother's daughter, and she taught me that justice always comes due." The aftermath would be messy. Headlines, trials, the dismantling of an empire built on blood and lies. But watching them led away, I felt no satisfaction, no triumph, only a quiet certainty that some debts can only be paid in full. The courtroom emptied slowly, leaving me alone with the ghosts of everything that had happened. Jonathan Turner's cancer had claimed him before justice could, but Rebecca and my father would serve their sentences. Ethan had taken a plea deal, trading testimony for leniency. I traced my fingers over the polished wood of the witness stand where I'd spent the last 3 days testifying. The truth had poured out of me like poison from a wound. Every betrayal, every lie, every calculated move in their perfect game. Ready to go? Mia appeared in the doorway, keys jingling in her hand. Almost. I gathered my things, pausing at the evidence table where photos still lay scattered, frozen moments of a life I'd thought was real. My wedding day, family dinners, corporate galas where we'd all smiled while plotting against each other. The press is waiting outside, she warned. Let them wait. The click of expensive heels announced another presence. Rebecca Turner allowed one final conversation before being taken to serve her sentence. I underestimated you, she said simply. You underestimated everyone. That was your mistake. She nodded, perfectly coiffed even in defeat. Jonathan wanted you to have this. She placed an envelope on the table. He wrote it before. I don't want anything from him. It's not what you think. She straightened her designer jacket, her last act of dignity before prison. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't destroying your enemies, it's understanding them. She left without another word, head high until the end. The envelope felt heavy in my hands. Inside was a single photograph, Jonathan and my father as young men, standing in front of a startup company's logo. Their company before Turner Technologies existed, before greed and power had corrupted everything they touched. My phone buzzed. Ethan. I meant what I said, about loving you. I deleted the message without responding. Some lies we choose to believe, and some truths we choose to forget. Your mother's waiting, Mia reminded me gently. Mom had recovered fully from her accident, stronger now that she knew the truth. She'd divorced my father the day after his arrest, reclaiming her maiden name and her independence. Outside the courthouse, reporters surged forward with questions about justice, revenge, family loyalty. I pushed past them toward my mother's waiting car, but stopped at the sight of Liam standing by his vehicle. One last piece of evidence came in, he said, holding out a final USB drive. About Sophia's death. Turns out she knew it was coming. Left instructions about what to do with her shares in the company. Let me guess, she left them to me? He nodded. Controlling interest. The board's waiting for your decision about the company's future. I took the drive, feeling its weight, not just data, but responsibility, power, the very things that had corrupted the Turners. You know what the difference is between justice and revenge? I asked him. What's that? Justice changes things. Revenge just continues the cycle. I dropped the drive into the fountain outside the courthouse, watching it sink to the bottom. The reporters' cameras clicked frantically, capturing the moment Turner Technologies' fate changed forever. What now? Mia asked as we reached my mother's car. I looked back at the courthouse one last time. Rebecca being led away in handcuffs. Ethan standing alone, watching me through the crowd. The empire of lies crumbling behind them. Now we build something new, I said. Something honest. Mom squeezed my hand as I slid into the passenger seat. She'd taught me that strength isn't about revenge or power. It's about choosing when to fight and when to let go. The reporters would write their stories. The courts would handle the rest. But as we drove away from the ruins of the Turner legacy, I realized some victories don't need headlines. Sometimes they just need silence and the courage to write your own ending. Even if that ending isn't perfect. Even if some questions remain unanswered. Even if some ghosts refuse to rest. The email sat in my inbox like a ticking bomb. Dear Mrs. Annie Thompson, regarding your involvement in the Oakwood Heights development project. I blinked, read it again. Oakwood Heights? I'd never heard of it, yet according to this email, I was apparently a key investor. My name is Annie, and until 10 minutes ago, I thought I knew everything about my life, my marriage, and especially my finances. As a forensic accountant, numbers are my sanctuary. They don't lie, they don't pretend, and they always tell a story if you know how to listen. Earth to Annie. Judy waved her hand in front of my face, her coffee going cold on my desk. You've been staring at your screen for 5 minutes straight. I turned my monitor toward her. Have you ever heard of Oakwood Heights? She squinted at the email. No, but isn't that the kind of thing Tom handles for you guys, since you gave him control of your inheritance? The mention of my inheritance made my stomach clench. 6 months ago, I'd signed everything over to Tom. It's just easier this way, baby. he'd said, flashing that smile that still made my knees weak after 7 years of marriage. You handle enough numbers at work. Let me take care of our future. Yeah, I replied to Judy, forcing a smile. You're right, I'll ask him tonight. Speaking of tonight, Judy perched on the edge of my desk, her eyes sparkling. Don't forget it's your anniversary dinner, though I still can't believe you're working today. Tom's taking me to La Maison, I said, trying to match her enthusiasm. He's been talking about it for weeks. Of course he has. Mr. Perfect, always planning the perfect surprise. Judy's tone carried an edge I chose to ignore, just like I had for years. The rest of the afternoon crawled by. I couldn't focus on my cases. My mind kept drifting back to that email. At 5:30, I packed up, but something made me forward it to my personal account before logging off. Home was our dream house in the suburbs, all brick and columns and perfectly manicured lawn. Tom's Tesla wasn't in the driveway yet. I kicked off my heels and headed upstairs to change, but stopped at his home office. The door was usually locked, but today it swung open easily. I told myself I was just looking for documentation about Oakwood Heights. Nothing more. His desk was immaculate as always, but a file was sitting slightly askew in his otherwise perfectly aligned stack. The label read, Property Holdings, Q2. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside were property deeds, investment reports, and bank statements. Lots of them. My grandmother's inheritance had been substantial, nearly $2 million, but these numbers were far beyond that. And the dates. Some of these transactions predated my inheritance. Annie? Tom's voice boomed from downstairs. Baby, are you home? I shoved the file back, heart pounding. Up here, just getting ready. Well, hurry up, beautiful. I've got champagne chilling and reservations at 8. I rushed to our bedroom, mind racing. Tom appeared in the doorway, tall and handsome in his charcoal suit, holding 2 glasses of champagne. Happy anniversary, baby. Happy anniversary, I echoed, accepting the glass with trembling fingers. He pulled me close, nuzzling my neck. 7 years. Can you believe it? Sometimes it feels like yesterday, I said, and it was true. I could still remember our first date, how he'd charmed me with stories of his real estate empire, how he'd made me feel like the most special woman in the world. Get dressed, he whispered. I've got something big to tell you tonight. As I slipped into my black dress, my phone buzzed. Another email, this time from an address I didn't recognize. Mrs. Thompson, urgent matter regarding Christina's trust fund allocation. Please confirm transfer authorization. Christina? What trust fund? Annie? Tom called up. Car's waiting. I deleted the email, grabbed my clutch, and headed downstairs. Tom held out his arm, ever the perfect gentleman. As we walked to the car, I caught our reflection in the window. The picture-perfect couple. But cracks were appearing in that picture, hairline fractures that threatened to shatter everything. You okay? Tom asked, opening my door. You seem distracted. I smiled, leaning in to kiss his cheek, just thinking about how lucky I am. He beamed, and I felt sick, because in that moment, I knew, really knew, that something was terribly wrong. And I was going to find out what it was, even if it destroyed everything I thought I knew about love, marriage, and the man I'd trusted with my heart and my future. The numbers don't lie, and they were telling me a story I wasn't sure I was ready to hear. La Maison's soft lighting couldn't mask the tension I felt as Tom ordered another bottle of wine. My mind kept drifting to those files, to the mysterious Christina, to all the numbers that didn't add up. You're awfully quiet tonight, Tom said, reaching across the table to take my hand. Something on your mind? I squeezed his hand, buying time. Actually, yes. I got an interesting email today about Oakwood Heights. Ring any bells? His smile didn't waver, but something flickered in his eyes. Ah, that. It's a new development project I'm working on. Nothing for you to worry about. But the email said I was an investor. Just legal stuff, baby. You know how these things work. Since we consolidated our assets, some documents list both our names. He waved the waiter over. More bread? I shook my head, my forensic accountant's brain screaming that this wasn't how things worked at all. But I smiled, played my part, and let him change the subject to his latest golf game. The next morning, I waited until Tom left for his breakfast meeting before making my move. His office password took 3 attempts. Our wedding date, his birthday, and finally success with his college football number. Amateur. Okay, Tom, I muttered. Let's see what you've been up to." His email revealed a complex web of accounts and properties. I started copying everything to a USB drive, my hands steady despite my racing heart. A folder labeled Personal caught my eye. Inside were hundreds of receipts. Hotels, restaurants, jewelry stores, all in cities where Tham claimed to have business meetings. My phone buzzed. Judy. "You okay?" she asked without preamble. "You looked ready to crack last night when you left work." "Can you meet me? Now? Give me 20 minutes. Coffee shop on 4th? The cafe was quiet when I arrived. Judy was already there, 2 lattes waiting. I pulled out my laptop and showed her what I'd found. "Holy shit," she whispered, scrolling through the documents. "Annie, these transactions, they're not just shady, they're potentially criminal. Look at these dates. He was moving your inheritance money before you even signed it over. There's more." I pulled up the email about Christina. "Who is she, and why does she have a trust fund connected to my accounts?" Judy's face went pale. "Wait here." She rushed to her car, returning with a stack of papers. "I've been doing some digging since you mentioned the weird email yesterday. Found this in public records." My coffee went cold as I stared at the document. A property deed for a house in Riverside, purchased 3 years ago. Listed owners, Tham and Christina. "I need to see this house," I said, standing up. "Annie, wait. Are you coming or not?" 20 minutes later, we parked across the street from a beautiful Victorian home. A woman about my age was in the garden, a toddler playing nearby. She had Tom's favorite flowers planted along the walkway, the same ones he brought me every Friday. "That's Christina," Judy whispered unnecessarily. My world was spinning. A car pulled into the driveway, Tom's Tesla. I ducked down in my seat, watching as he got out, scooped up the laughing toddler, and kissed Christina like he'd kissed me last night. "Drive," I choked out. "Please, just drive." Back at my office, I locked myself in the bathroom and threw up. When I emerged, Judy was waiting with water and determination in her eyes. "What are you going to do?" I sat at my desk, pulled up my banking software. "What I do best. Follow the money." "Annie, he's been playing me for years, Judy. Years. Using my inheritance, my trust, my love to build this alternate life." My voice was steady, surprising me. But he forgot one thing. "What's that?" I logged into the forensic accounting database. Numbers are my language, and his numbers, they're about to tell me everything. My phone lit up with a text from Tham. "Working late tonight, baby. Don't wait up. Love you." I texted back, "No problem. Love you too." Judy raised an eyebrow. "What?" I said, already deep in financial records. He's not the only one who can play pretend. As the afternoon sun faded, patterns emerged in Tom's financial maze. Regular transfers, hidden accounts, properties under shell companies. Each discovery was a knife in my heart, but also a weapon in my arsenal. "You know what you're doing could be dangerous," Judy said softly. "If he's hiding this much..." I looked up from my screen, something cold and hard settling in my chest. "You know what's dangerous, Judy? Thinking you can steal from a forensic accountant and get away with it. Tom's about to learn that lesson the hard way." The numbers were telling their story now, loud and clear, and I was finally ready to listen. 3 days of playing the loving wife while digging through financial records had left me exhausted. I sat in my car outside Christina's yoga studio, watching her chat with other women after class. She looked so normal, happy, completely unaware that her life, like mine, was built on lies. My phone buzzed. "Tham, miss you, baby. Dinner tonight?" "Can't. Girls' night with Judy, remember?" Another lie to add to the pile between us. Christina walked to her car, and I found myself following her at a safe distance. She pulled into a high-end grocery store, the same one Tham claimed had the best steaks in town. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. Inside, I grabbed a basket and pretended to shop while keeping her in sight. She was in the produce section when someone called out, "Christina, how's my favorite client?" I ducked behind a display as a tall man approached her. His expensive suit and confident stride screamed business. "Joshua, what a surprise," Christina smiled. "Just picking up ingredients for Tom's favorite pasta. He's been so stressed about the Oakwood Heights project." I nearly dropped my basket. "Joshua, I knew that name from Tom's emails." "That man works too hard." Joshua laughed. "But the project's worth it. Biggest development deal of the year. Speaking of which, is he still planning to liquidate those trust holdings next week? I think so. He mentioned something about moving funds around. My inheritance. He was planning to move my inheritance. I followed Christina to check out, then watched her load her groceries. As she drove away, I approached Joshua, who was still examining wine bottles. "Excuse me," I said, channeling my inner airhead. I couldn't help overhearing, "You're in real estate?" He turned, all charm and perfect teeth. "Joshua Mills, Mills Development Group, always happy to meet a potential investor." "Actually, I'm interested in Oakwood Heights. I heard it's quite the project." His smile flickered. "Are you involved with the development?" "Not yet, but I'm very interested in the financial structure." He pulled out a business card. "Why don't you call my office? We can discuss opportunities." Back in my car, I Googled Mills Development Group. Their website listed Tom as a partner, something he'd never mentioned. I called Judy. "I need you to do something crazy," I said when she answered. "Crazier than stalking your husband's other wife?" "I need you to get me into a meeting with Joshua Mills." Silence. Then, "The real estate developer? How? You're still friends with his secretary, right? From spin class?" "Annie, please, Judy, I need to know what Tom's planning." She sighed. "Fine, but be careful. You're playing with fire." 2 days later, I sat in Joshua's plush office, wearing my sharpest suit and my game face. "Ms. Walker," he said, using the fake name Judy had given his secretary. "How can I help you?" "I'm interested in investing in Oakwood Heights. But first, I need to understand the current ownership structure." He leaned back, studying me. "That information is confidential." "Of course, but surely you can tell me about the trust fund allocations, the ones being liquidated next week?" His face hardened. "Who are you, really?" I stood, smoothing my skirt. "Someone very interested in Tom's financial decisions. Give him a message for me. Annie says hello." I was halfway to the door when he called out, "Wait." I turned. He looked shaken. "You're Tom's wife. But he told us you were aware of everything." "Did he? How interesting. What else did he tell you?" Joshua ran a hand through his hair. "Look, I don't want any part of whatever this is. But you should know, the trust liquidation, it's happening tomorrow, not next week." My heart stopped. "Thank you, Joshua." I drove straight to the bank, my mind racing. Tom had access to my accounts, but some things still required my signature. Unless... The bank manager's face told me everything before she spoke. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Thompson, but those documents were processed last week. Your husband had power of attorney." "Power of attorney?" My voice cracked. "That's impossible. I never signed..." She pulled up the document on her screen. There it was, my signature, perfectly forged. I stumbled out to my car and called Judy. "He forged my signature. He's taking everything tomorrow. Come to my house. Now." As I drove, my phone lit up with a text from Tom. "Surprise! Booked us a weekend getaway. Pack your bags, baby. Leaving tomorrow morning." Of course. He was planning to be gone when the transfers went through. My hands shook as I typed, "Can't wait. Best husband ever." The lies came so easily now. But tomorrow, everything would change. Tomorrow, Tom would learn that he wasn't the only one who could play this game. And I was playing to win. Judy's dining room table disappeared under stacks of documents as we worked through the night. Every bank statement, every property deed, every forged signature told another piece of Tom's story. "Look at this," Judy said, holding up a birth certificate. "Christina's son. He's 2 years old." My coffee cup froze halfway to my lips. 2 years? That means he was sleeping with her before your wedding. The cup shattered against the wall before I realized I'd thrown it. "Sorry," I whispered, but Judy was already cleaning up. "Don't apologize. Break everything. You've earned it." My phone buzzed. Tom's hourly check-in. "Almost packed, baby? Can't wait for our romantic weekend." I texted back a heart emoji, then turned to Judy. "I need to get into that safety deposit box." "The one you found the key for?" "It's at First National, box 2317. I pulled out Tom's bank records. He visits it every month, always after making large transfers." "How are you going to access it? It's probably in his name." I smiled grimly. "Actually, it's in mine." Another thing he forged. But this time, that works in my favor. First National opened at 9 a.m. I was there at 8:55, dressed for my romantic weekend, suitcase in the car. The bank manager recognized me. "Mrs. Thompson, your husband mentioned you'd be coming." My heart stopped. "He did?" "Yes, he called yesterday to add you to the access list. Said it was an anniversary surprise." Of course, he needed me to have access so nothing would look suspicious when he emptied it. I forced a smile. "That's my Tom. Always thoughtful." The box was larger than I expected. Inside, I found stacks of cash, multiple passports, some with Tom's picture under different names, and a USB drive. "Could I have a moment alone?" I asked the manager, "to appreciate my surprise?" In the private viewing room, I plugged the USB into my phone. Folders upon folders of offshore account details, property holdings, and emails appeared. But what caught my eye was a video file labeled Christina Wedding. My hands shook as I pressed play. There was Tom in a tuxedo, standing at an altar. Christina walking down the aisle in white. A different ring, a different ceremony, a different life, dated just 6 months after our own wedding. "Mrs. Thompson," the manager knocked. "Your husband is on the phone for you." I quickly copied everything to my phone, returned the USB, and closed the box. At the counter, I took the phone with steady hands. "Hey, baby." Tom's voice oozed charm. "Where are you? I'm about to head home to pick you up." "Just finishing up at the bank. Had to deposit some checks before we leave." A pause. "The bank? Which branch?" "The one near work." "Why?" "No reason. See you soon, baby." I handed back the phone and walked calmly to my car. The moment I was inside, I called Judy. "He knows. He's coming here." "Get out now. Come to my place." "And Annie?" I called in that favor from my brother. Judy's brother was an FBI agent. When I arrived at her house, he was waiting with 2 other agents. "Show them," Judy said. I connected my phone to Judy's laptop and displayed everything: the forged documents, the offshore accounts, the multiple identities, and finally the video. "Mrs. Thompson," Agent Mike leaned forward. "Your husband isn't just committing fraud. This is international money laundering. And that second marriage? That's bigamy." My phone buzzed. Tom again. "Where are you?" "I'm at the bank, but they said you left." Another text followed. "Baby, whatever you found, we can talk about it. I can explain everything." And another. "Annie, think carefully about what you're doing." "He's scared," Judy said softly. "Good." I turned to Mike. "What do you need from me?" "Everything you've shown us, plus your testimony. We've been building a case against several developers involved in international money laundering. Your husband's name came up, but we couldn't prove anything. Until now." My phone buzzed one more time. "I'm coming home. Be there." I looked at the agents. "He's going to our house. He thinks I'm there." Mike nodded to his colleagues. "Let's move." As they prepared to leave, I stared at my wedding ring. All those years, all those lies. I slipped the ring off and placed it on Judy's table. "Annie," Judy touched my arm. "Are you sure about this? Once it starts..." I thought of Christina's son, innocent and unknowing. Of my grandmother's inheritance, meant to secure my future, now funding Tom's double life. Of all the careful deceptions and casual cruelties. "I'm sure," I said, and my voice was steel. "It's time for Tom to learn that karma doesn't need to be patient forever. Sometimes karma just needs the right evidence." The FBI set up surveillance in our house while I sat at the kitchen island, exactly where a loving wife would wait for her husband. Agent Mike and his team were hidden throughout the house, recording devices ready. "Just keep him talking," Mike had instructed. "We need him to incriminate himself." The front door opened. "Annie?" Tom's voice carried that perfect mix of concern and authority that had fooled me for so long. "Baby, are you here?" "In the kitchen." He appeared in the doorway, handsome and collected as ever, but his eyes darted around the room. "You scared me, disappearing like that." "Did I?" I kept my voice neutral. "Like you disappeared to Riverside every Thursday?" He didn't flinch. Professional liar that he was. "What are you talking about?" "Christina seems nice. Your son looks just like you." Now he flinched. "Annie, let me explain." "Explain what? The forged signatures? The stolen inheritance? Or maybe explain how you managed to marry her when you were already married to me?" He moved closer, hands raised like he was approaching a scared animal. Whatever you think you found, it's not what it looks like. I had to make some complicated business moves to protect our future. Our future? I laughed. Or your future with Christina. Christina means nothing. She's just part of a business arrangement. Does she know that? Does your son know that? His face hardened. You've been going through my things. Actually, I've been doing my job, following the money. You remember what I do for a living, right? Or did you forget while you were busy stealing my inheritance? I didn't steal anything. He slammed his hand on the counter. Everything I did was to build something bigger. For us. For us? Tell me about Oakwood Heights, Tom. Tell me about the offshore accounts. His eyes narrowed. What did you do? Nothing yet, but I have copies of everything. The forged documents, the fake passports, the second marriage certificate. One call and it all goes public. You're bluffing. I pulled out my phone, showed him the files. Want to bet your freedom on that? He changed tactics, his voice softening. Baby, listen, we can fix this. I'll sign everything back over to you. We'll start fresh. Like you promised Christina? She means nothing. He reached for me. You're my wife. I stepped back. So is she. It's not legal, just a ceremony to keep her family happy while I close some deals. And the baby? A mistake. One I've paid for. He moved closer. Annie, please. Think about what you're doing. If this gets out, everyone gets hurt. Christina, the baby. Do you want that on your conscience? That hit home. Christina was as much a victim as I was. But then I remembered the birth certificate date. She'd known him first. He'd married me while already involved with her. You're right, I said softly. Christina and your son don't deserve this. Hope flickered in his eyes. Then let's talk. Just us. We can work it out. No, Tom, we can't. Agent Mike stepped out of the shadows. Thomas Thompson, you're under arrest. Tom's face went white. You didn't... She did, Mike said, producing handcuffs. And we have everything on tape. 2 more agents appeared. Tom looked at me, and for the first time, I saw real fear in his eyes. Annie, please. I love you. No, I said quietly. You love winning. You love control. But you never loved me. As they led him away, he called back, What about Christina? What about my son? I waited until he was gone before answering softly. They'll be better off without you. We all will. Judy emerged from the living room where she'd been waiting. You okay? No. I sank onto a kitchen stool. But I will be. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Christina. We need to talk. Judy read over my shoulder. Are you going to meet her? I stared at the message, thinking of the woman in the garden with her toddler, living her own version of my lie. Yes, I said finally. She deserves to know everything. And then what? I looked around at my perfect kitchen and my perfect house, all bought with lies and stolen dreams. And then I'm selling this house, starting over. Maybe help other women learn to spot the signs I missed. The signs you caught, Judy corrected. You brought down his whole operation. Yeah, I managed a small smile. Turns out karma doesn't need patience when it has a forensic accountant on its side. My phone buzzed again. Christina setting up a meeting for tomorrow. Want me to come with you? Judy asked. I shook my head. No, this is something I need to do alone. Besides, I added, I have a feeling Christina and I have a lot to talk about, starting with how we're going to rebuild our lives after loving the same liar. The sun was setting outside, painting the kitchen gold. For the first time in days, I felt like I could breathe. The truth was out, the lies exposed, and tomorrow would be different. The cafe where Christina suggested we meet was halfway between our houses. Our real houses, not the fake life Tom had constructed. She was already there when I arrived, her son asleep in a stroller beside her. I wasn't sure you'd come, she said as I sat down. I wasn't sure you'd want to see me. A waiter approached. We both ordered coffee, strong and black. When he left, Christina leaned forward. How long have you known? About a week. You? The FBI showed up at my door last night. She twisted her wedding ring, identical to the one I'd taken off. They showed me everything. The other properties, the fraud, you... Her voice cracked. I had no idea you existed. I didn't know about you either. But you figured it out. You caught him. I'm a forensic accountant. Numbers are what I do. She reached into her bag, pulled out a stack of papers. Then maybe you can help me understand these. They're from my bank accounts. The FBI says most of the money is from illegal activities. I glanced at the statements. The same patterns I'd found in my accounts jumped out immediately. He moved money between Shell's companies, I explained, made it look like legitimate business transactions, using my name, my signature. Mine too. Her son stirred in the stroller. She reached out automatically, soothing him with a gentle touch. James, she said softly. That's his name. Tom insisted on it, said it was his father's name. His father's name was Robert. Christina's hand froze. Everything was a lie, wasn't it? Down to the flowers he brought us. Same kind, same day of the week. She laughed, a harsh sound. Friday afternoons. Peonies. He really wasn't very creative. Our coffee arrived. We both stared into our cups, the weight of shared betrayal hanging between us. What happens now? Christina asked. The FBI is freezing all his assets, but anything we can prove was legitimately ours, we can keep. I don't want his money. Neither do I, but... I nodded toward James. He deserves security. They're saying Tom could face 20 years. More, probably. The international accounts complicated things. Christina's phone buzzed. She checked it, her face hardening. His lawyer, again, wants me to help build his defense. What are you going to do? Tell the truth, that I was as fooled as you were. She looked up. Unless you need me to say something else? I shook my head. The evidence is enough. Your testimony would just be confirmation. James woke up then, his sleepy eyes so much like Tom's it hurt. Christina lifted him, and he snuggled into her shoulder. I'm selling my house, I said suddenly. Starting fresh. I can't afford to keep mine. Not without... She trailed off. I might have a solution. I pulled out my laptop, showed her what I'd been working on. My grandmother's inheritance? What's left of it? I'm using it to start a foundation. For women like us, people who've been financially manipulated or defrauded. A foundation? Education, legal support, emergency housing. The FBI says there are more victims out there. Other women Tom scammed. Christina was quiet for a long moment. Would you need help running it? Actually, I was hoping you'd say that. You have a business degree, right? How did you... Found your LinkedIn. Did some background checking. Hope you don't mind. She smiled. A real smile. Once a forensic accountant, always a forensic accountant. Something like that. James reached for my hair, giggling. Christina gently pulled his hand back. Sorry, he's grabby lately. It's okay. I touched his small hand. He's innocent in all this. No one's innocent, a familiar voice cut in. We both looked up to see Judy standing there. Except maybe him. Judy, I started, but she cut me off. Save it. I've been watching you torture yourself for days about meeting Christina. Had to make sure you were both okay. Christina shifted. You're Annie's friend? The one who helped her? Guilty. And now I'm here to help both of you. First step? Lunch. Real food, not just coffee. You two have a foundation to plan. As Judy pulled up a chair, I watched Christina settle James with some toys. Two women who'd loved and lost the same lie, sitting in a cafe, planning a future neither of us had imagined a week ago. My phone buzzed. A text from Agent Mike. Tom's talking, says he'll give up his international contacts for a deal. I showed the message to Christina. She read it, then looked at me with steel in her eyes. Let him talk, she said. We've got better things to do. Judy raised her coffee cup. To new beginnings? Christina and I lifted our cups. To new beginnings. And to karma, I thought. Sometimes it doesn't just balance the scales. It opens doors you never knew existed. 6 months passed like a whirlwind. The foundation was taking shape, and Christina and I had developed a rhythm, working together to help other women while rebuilding our own lives. Then came the call we'd been dreading. The plea hearing is tomorrow, Agent Mike said. Both of you should be there. I glanced across our new office at Christina, who was bouncing James on her knee while reviewing grant applications. We'll be there. The courthouse loomed gray and imposing the next morning. Judy met us outside, coffee in hand. Ready? She asked. No, Christina and I said simultaneously. Inside, the courtroom was packed. Joshua was there, along with other developers caught in the FBI's net. Tom's lawyer bustled around, papers flying. Then they brought Tham in. Prison hadn't been kind to him. His designer suits were replaced by orange, his confident stride by shuffling steps. But when he saw us, that old charm flickered to life. "Annie," he called out. "Christina, please, can we—" "Mr. Thompson," the judge cut in, "you'll refrain from addressing anyone but the court." The proceedings began. The prosecutor stood, listing charges that seemed endless: fraud, money laundering, bigamy, forgery, international financial crimes. The defendant has agreed to provide information about his international contacts in exchange for consideration in sentencing, she concluded. Tom's lawyer rose. "My client has shown remorse. He's cooperated fully." "Objection!" a new voice rang out. A woman in a sharp suit stood up. "Your Honor, I represent additional victims who've come forward." My heart stopped. This wasn't part of the plan. The lawyer continued. 3 more women have provided evidence of Mr. Thompson's fraudulent marriages and financial schemes. Same pattern, different cities? Christina grabbed my hand. Tom's face went ash gray. "Approach the bench," the judge ordered. While they huddled, I turned to Agent Mike, who sat behind us. "Did you know about this?" He nodded grimly. "Found them last week. Tom was busier than we thought." The judge cleared his throat. "In light of this new evidence, I'm rejecting the plea deal. Mr. Thompson, you've demonstrated a pattern of deliberate deception that goes beyond the original charges." Tom jumped up. "Your Honor, please, I can explain." "Sit down, Mr. Thompson. Based on the severity and scope of your crimes, I'm sentencing you to 25 years in federal prison. Additionally, all assets will be frozen and investigated." The gavel cracked like thunder. As guards approached Tom, he turned to us desperately. "Annie, Christina, please. I did it for us. For James." Christina stood, James sleeping against her shoulder. "No, Tom. You did it for yourself. Always for yourself." They led him away. The other women, his other victims, huddled together near the back. I approached them slowly. "I'm Annie. This is Christina. We run a foundation for survivors of financial fraud. If you need help," one woman stepped forward. "I'm Rachel. Tom, he took everything from me 3 years ago." "Not everything," Christina said firmly. "He didn't take your strength or your future." Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Agent Mike ran interference while Judy got our cars. "Annie," Tom's lawyer called out. "A moment?" I turned. He held out an envelope. "He wanted you to have this, both of you." Christina and I exchanged looks. Together, we ripped the envelope in half. "We don't need any more of his words," I said. The lawyer nodded slowly. "I'll let him know." That evening, we all gathered at my new apartment, smaller than the old house, but honestly mine. Rachel and the other women joined us. Judy ordered pizza. James played with toy cars on the floor. "To justice," Judy raised her glass. "To freedom," Rachel added. "To the future," Christina said. I looked around at these women, each carrying their own story of betrayal and survival. To us, and to every woman still out there, thinking she's alone, we'll find them. My phone buzzed. Another message from someone who'd seen the news, seeking help. I showed it to Christina. "Ready to get back to work?" she asked. "Always." As everyone shared stories and support, I stepped onto my small balcony. The city lights sparkled below, each one perhaps hiding another story like ours. But now we had a way to help, to turn our pain into purpose. Judy joined me. "You okay?" "Better than okay." I smiled. For the first time since this all started, I feel free. "You did that. You freed yourself, and now you're helping others do the same." Inside, Christina was showing Rachel our foundation's website. James had fallen asleep on the couch, surrounded by strong women who would make sure he grew up knowing the truth about love, trust, and justice. Tom thought he was building an empire on lies. Instead, he'd accidentally created something powerful and real, a network of survivors turned warriors, ready to fight for those who needed us most. Karma had done its job. Now it was our turn to do ours. The Foundation's office buzzed with activity as I reviewed our latest case files. Rachel had joined our team full-time, her legal background proving invaluable. Christina managed operations while juggling preschool schedules for James. My phone lit up with a news alert. Developer Joshua Mills pleads guilty in international fraud case. Christina, I called out, look at this. She leaned over my shoulder, James coloring quietly at her feet. Another one down. How many does that make now? 7 of Tom's former associates. I scrolled through the article. Joshua's testimony implicated 3 more. Mom! James tugged at Christina's sleeve. Look what I drew. She knelt down to admire his artwork, a house with multiple stick figures in front. Who are all these people, honey? That's you and me and Aunt Annie and Aunt Judy and Rachel. He pointed to each figure proudly. Christina's eyes met mine over his head. Neither of us mentioned the missing father figure. Judy burst through the door, waving a folder. You're not going to believe this. What now? I asked. Remember that safety deposit box? The one where you found the USB drive? She spread photos across my desk. The FBI just found more. Dozens of them, all across the country. Rachel joined us, examining the evidence. These could help us identify more victims. Already on it, Judy said. 5 women have come forward since this morning. My computer pinged. An email from Agent Mike. Need you at the prison. Tom's asking for you. Says he has information about offshore accounts we haven't found yet. Delete it, Christina said firmly. I shook my head. Those accounts could help his victims recover their money. Annie, Judy's voice held a warning. I'm not going alone. I looked at Christina. Coming? The prison visiting room was cold and sterile. Tom sat behind the glass, orange jumpsuit hanging loose on his frame. His eyes lit up when he saw us. Annie, Christina, thank you for... Save it. Christina cut him off. The accounts. Where are they? His smile faltered. I've had time to think. About everything I did, everyone I hurt. The accounts, I repeated. First, I need you to know... No. I leaned forward. You don't get to explain or apologize or try to manipulate us again. The only thing you get to do is help make this right. He stared at us for a long moment. Then, deflating, he recited account numbers and passwords. That's everything? Christina asked. Everything. He glanced at the guard, then lowered his voice. How's James? Happy, she said. Loved. Surrounded by strong women who'll make sure he never becomes like you. As we stood to leave, Tom pressed his hand against the glass. I really did love you both. No, I said quietly. You loved what we represented. Opportunities to take, lives to control. But we're not your opportunities anymore. We're your karma. Outside, Christina released a shaky breath. That's the last time. No more visits, no more messages. Agreed. Back at the office, Rachel had organized an impromptu support group session. Women sat in a circle sharing stories of betrayal and recovery. I thought I was stupid, one woman was saying. How could I not see it? You weren't stupid, Rachel assured her. These men are professional manipulators, but you're stronger than their lies. James tugged at my sleeve. Aunt Annie, can we get ice cream? After the meeting, buddy. Why don't you show me more of your drawing? He pulled me to his coloring corner, chattering about his artwork. Christina watched us, smiling. He doesn't ask about Tom anymore, she said softly, because he has everything he needs right here. Judy appeared with fresh coffee for everyone. New client coming in tomorrow. Similar pattern to Tom's other cases. We'll be ready, I said. As the support group wrapped up, women exchanged phone numbers and hugs. One stopped by my desk. I was drowning before I found you, she said. Thank you for showing me I'm not alone. I handed her our foundation's card. You never were. And you never will be again. The setting sun painted our office golden. Rachel and Judy were planning tomorrow's cases. Christina helped James pack up his crayons. On my desk, a framed photo showed all of us at the foundation's opening, our chosen family, built from the ashes of betrayal. My phone buzzed. Agent Mike, offshore accounts checkout. Recovery process starting. You did good. I looked around at what we'd created. Not just a foundation, but a fortress of strength and support. Tom thought he was building an empire of lies. Instead, he'd given us the tools to build something far more powerful. Truth, justice, and healing. Ready to go? Christina asked, James's hand in hers. I grabbed my bag, leaving Tom's final message unread in my inbox. Ready. We had work to do, women to help, lives to rebuild, and we'd do it together, stronger than any lie, more powerful than any betrayal. That was the truest karma of all.
Betrayal has a sound. Today, it was the soft click of expensive heels on hardwood floors, followed by hushed voices that grew louder as I approached our front door. I hadn't expected anyone to be home at 2 in the afternoon, let alone the entire family gathered in what was supposed to be my sanctuary. My name is Harmony, and I should have known something was wrong when Mark stopped kissing me goodbye in the mornings. I pushed open the door to find them arranged like a tribunal. Sophie perched on our leather armchair, her manicured fingers drumming an impatient rhythm on the armrest. Mark's parents, Linda and Tham, occupied the sofa, while my husband stood by the fireplace, his back to me. "Well, isn't this cozy?" I said, dropping my design portfolio by the door. "Should I have brought snacks for our impromptu family meeting?" Sophie's lip curled. "This isn't a social call, Harmony. We need to discuss your living situation." "My what?" The room suddenly felt too small, too warm. Linda leaned forward, her pearls catching the afternoon light. "Dear, we've been patient, but it's time you found your own place. This arrangement isn't working anymore." I looked at Mark's back, waiting for him to turn around to defend me. He didn't move. "Arrangement?" My voice came out steadier than I felt. "You mean my marriage? The home I've helped pay for over the last 5 years?" "Don't be dramatic," Sophie cut in. "We all know Mark's been carrying the financial burden. Your little design projects barely cover the groceries." A laugh escaped me, sharp and bitter. "Little projects? I paid for the kitchen renovation last year. I've been contributing to the mortgage since day one." "That's not entirely accurate," Tom spoke up, his first words since I'd entered. He pulled out a folder from his briefcase. "We've been reviewing the property documents. Your name isn't on any of them." The floor seemed to tilt beneath my feet. "That's impossible. Mark and I signed the papers together." Finally, my husband turned around. His face was blank, like a stranger's. "We need to make some changes, Harmony. This isn't working." "What isn't working?" I stepped closer, searching his face for any trace of the man I married. "The fact that I've been supporting us while you've been between projects for the past 8 months." Sophie stood up, smoothing her designer dress. "See? This is exactly why we need you gone. You're always throwing things in Mark's face, making him feel inadequate." "Oh, that's rich coming from you." I turned to face her fully. "How's that promotion working out? The one you got after stealing my branding concepts?" "That's enough," Linda's voice cracked through the air. "This is precisely why we need to separate. You're toxic for this family, Harmony. Always have been." My hands were shaking now, but not from fear. Rage coursed through me, cold and clarifying. "Mark," I said softly, "is this what you want?" He wouldn't meet my eyes. "It's for the best." "The best for whom?" I walked to the mantel, picked up our wedding photo. "For you? For your sister who's been trying to drive me out since day one? Or for your parents who never thought I was good enough?" "Don't make this harder than it needs to be," Sophie said, her voice dripping with false sympathy. "We've already packed most of your things." I set the photo down with deliberate care. "You went through my belongings?" "We took the liberty," Linda said. "The boxes are in the garage." Something inside me shifted then, like a gear clicking into place. I looked at each of them. These people who'd smiled at family dinners, who'd hugged me at holidays, who'd planned this ambush with the precision of executioners. "All right," I said quietly. "I'll go. But remember this moment. Remember exactly how you chose to do this." "Are you threatening us?" Sophie's eyes narrowed. I smiled, and for the first time I saw uncertainty flicker across their faces. "No, Sophie. I'm making a promise. You wanted me gone? Congratulations. You just lost the only person who was keeping your house of cards from collapsing." I turned and walked out, leaving them in silence. In the garage, I saw the neat stack of boxes containing my life, labeled in Sophie's perfect handwriting. I didn't touch them. Instead, I pulled out my phone and dialed my friend Emma's number. They thought they were erasing me. They didn't realize they were setting me free. Emma's spare bedroom felt like exile, but it beat sleeping in my car. 3 days had passed since the ambush, and I'd spent them methodically pulling apart the threads of my marriage, looking for the exact moment it started unraveling. Your coffee's getting cold, Emma said, leaning against the doorframe. And you've been staring at that laptop screen for 2 hours. I rubbed my eyes. I'm going through our joint accounts. Something's not adding up. Besides your husband being a spineless jerk? Besides that, I turned the screen toward her. Look at these transfers. Every month for the past year, large sums moving to an account I don't recognize. Emma sat beside me, squinting at the numbers. That's a lot of money, Harmony. Where's it going? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Mark's name flashed on the screen. I let it ring. You should answer it, Emma said. He's called 6 times today. I picked up on the 7th ring. What? Where are you? His voice was tight, controlled. We need to talk about the Anderson account. The Anderson account, my biggest client. Nothing to discuss. They're my clients. They were your clients through my company's connections. The contract is under my name, I cut in. Check the paperwork, Mark. I made sure of that after Sophie tried to steal my last project. Silence crackled between us. Then, my sister was trying to help you. Help herself, you mean? I pulled up another bank statement. Like you've been helping yourself to our savings? Want to tell me about the transfers to account number 847? The line went dead. Coward, I muttered, tossing the phone aside. Emma touched my arm. What transfers? Nearly $200,000 over the past year. I thought we were saving for a down payment on a bigger house. I laughed, but it came out hollow. Turns out Mark's been moving money somewhere else. I just need to figure out where. My phone buzzed again, this time with a text from Sophie. Stop harassing my brother. You're embarrassing yourself. I showed Emma the message. Want to know something funny? Sophie's company just launched a new design division. Brand new office space, fully staffed, equipment, everything. That takes capital. You think Mark gave her your money? I think... My voice caught as another piece clicked into place. I think I need to visit the bank. An hour later, I stood in front of a very uncomfortable bank manager named Steve, who kept tugging at his collar as he reviewed my documents. Mrs. Harrison, while you're listed on the checking account, the savings account was converted to an individual account 6 months ago. Your signature is right here on the transfer authorization. I stared at the signature. It looked like mine, but I'd never signed it. That's forgery. Steve shifted in his chair. That's a serious accusation. Yes, it is. I pulled out my phone and opened my calendar. On the date this was supposedly signed, I was in Seattle at a design conference. I have flight tickets, hotel receipts, and about 50 witnesses who saw me give a keynote speech that morning. The color drained from Steve's face. I'll need to escalate this to our fraud department. Please do. I stood up. And while you're at it, I'd like all records of transfers from that account for the past year. I'm sure the police will find them interesting. Walking out of the bank, I felt something shift inside me. The hurt was still there, but it was hardening into something else. Something sharp and focused. My phone buzzed with another text from Mark. Family dinner tonight. We need to talk. I typed back, yes, we do. I'll bring the bank statements. Emma was waiting in her car outside. How'd it go? They forged my signature. I buckled my seatbelt, hands steady despite the rage coursing through me. Mark and Sophie stole my money to fund her new business venture. They probably thought I'd never notice, that I'd just accept their story about me being a financial burden and leave quietly. What are you gonna do? I watched the bank's glass doors reflect the afternoon sun, thinking about all the careful plans Mark and his family had made to push me out of their lives. I'm going to do exactly what they taught me. Take everything they have. Harmony. Emma's voice held a note of warning. Don't worry. I smiled, and it felt like baring teeth. I won't do anything illegal. I'll just make sure they experience exactly what they planned for me. Complete and utter abandonment, one piece at a time. My phone buzzed again. Linda this time. We expect you at dinner. Time to act like adults. I texted back one word. Perfect. The family dinner felt like walking into a trap with my eyes wide open. Linda's dining room with its pristine tablecloth and carefully arranged place settings might as well have been a courtroom. I arrived 15 minutes early. Bank documents tucked in my bag like ammunition. Sophie was already there, perched at the table like she owned it. You actually came. Wouldn't miss it. I took my usual seat, noting how they'd clustered their chairs at one end, leaving me isolated. How's the new design division? Her smile flickered. Thriving. Unlike some people's careers. Funny you should mention that. I pulled out my phone, opened my emails. The Anderson Group called today. Apparently, someone claiming to represent my interests tried to convince them to transfer their account to a new agency, your agency. The front door opened and Mark's footsteps echoed in the hallway. Sophie's face hardened. You're delusional. Am I? I turned my phone toward her. Because I have the email chain and the recorded phone call. California's a two-party consent state for recordings, by the way, except when there's reasonable suspicion of fraud. Mark entered, followed by his parents. He stopped short when he saw me, his tie slightly crooked. You're early. Couldn't wait to start. I smiled at Linda. Shall we eat first, or should we discuss how your children committed financial fraud? The crystal water glasses rattled as Tom set down his drink too hard. Now see here. No, you see here. I laid out the bank documents one by one. Forged signatures, unauthorized transfers, theft of client relationships. It's all here, with timestamps, witnesses, and documentation. Mark moved behind Sophie's chair, gripping it. You're overreacting. We can explain. Explain what? How you funneled my money into Sophie's new business? Or how you tried to steal my clients while pushing me out of my own home? Linda's voice cut through the tension. Everything we did was to protect this family. Your family, I corrected her. The same family that watched me pour my inheritance from my dead parents into this house, then forged documents to remove my name from the deed? Silence fell like a blade. That's different, Mark said quietly. The house was always meant to stay in the family. And I wasn't family enough? I pulled out one final document. You know what's interesting? I had my lawyer look into the original house purchase. Turns out there were some irregularities with the down payment documentation. Tom stood up so quickly his chair scraped against the floor. You had no right. I had every right. Just like I had every right to forward those findings to the mortgage company's fraud department this afternoon. Sophie's face went white. You didn't. I did. They're very interested in how you managed to secure that loan with falsified income statements. I stood up, smoothing my dress. Oh, and Mark? Your project manager position? I called your office. They said you were laid off 8 months ago. Funny how the transfers to Sophie's account started right after that. Mark lunged forward. You vindictive? Careful. I held up my phone. Still recording. And assault charges would really complicate things, wouldn't they? Linda's hands trembled as she reached for her water. What do you want? What do I want? I laughed, and the sound seemed to shake the crystal chandelier above us. I want my money back. I want my clients left alone. And I want you all to remember this moment, when your perfect little family scheme fell apart. We can work something out, Mark said, desperation creeping into his voice. Just don't submit those fraud reports. Too late. I picked up my bag. They're already filed. But hey, maybe you can explain to the investigators how you're the real victims here. You're good at playing that role. Sophie stood up, her chair clattering backward. You'll regret this. No, Sophie. I regret believing I could ever be part of this family. But that ends today. I walked to the door, then turned back. Oh, and Linda? You might want to call your country club. Apparently, there's some confusion about who's been paying those membership dues for the past 3 years. Spoiler alert, it wasn't Mark. I left them there, surrounded by their expensive furniture and exposed lies. As I drove away, my phone exploded with messages and calls, but I didn't need to read them. I already knew what came next. They thought they were destroying me. Instead, they'd given me everything I needed to destroy them. The investigator's office smelled like old coffee and resignation. Detective Morris shuffled through my documents, her expression carefully neutral. 3 days had passed since the family dinner, and the weight of what I'd set in motion pressed against my chest like a stone. Mrs. Harrison, these allegations are serious. She tapped the papers with a chipped nail. But something's missing here. Missing? She slid a document across her desk. Your husband's signature on the original mortgage. It's not just forged. It's dated 3 months before you two were married. The fluorescent lights suddenly seemed too bright. That's impossible. We bought the house together, after the wedding. According to county records, the house was purchased solely by Mark Harrison and his sister Sophie. She paused, using funds from a trust that technically belonged to their deceased grandmother. The room tilted sideways. I don't understand. I put my inheritance into that house. Did you? Detective Morris opened another file. Because we can't find any record of that transaction. Your inheritance seems to have gone somewhere else entirely. My phone buzzed. Emma texting to check if I was okay. I ignored it, focusing on breathing. Where? An offshore account, opened in your name, but with withdrawal authorizations for both Mark and Sophie Harrison. She leaned forward. Mrs. Harrison, I don't think you're the victim here. I think you're being set up as the perpetrator. The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. My exposure of their fraud wasn't just anticipated, it was orchestrated. They wanted me to file those reports, I whispered. It appears so. She closed the file. Right now, the evidence suggests you've been moving money offshore while attempting to claim ownership of property that was never yours. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I can prove. Can you? She looked genuinely sympathetic. Because every document you've provided has been expertly altered to implicate you in a fairly sophisticated financial scheme. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Mark. We need to talk, now. I stood up, gripping the back of my chair. I need a lawyer. That would be wise. Detective Morris handed me her card. And Mrs. Harrison, don't leave town. The parking lot was dark when I emerged. Emma was waiting in her car, but before I could reach her, another vehicle pulled up. Linda's Mercedes. Get in, she said through the rolled-down window. Unless you'd prefer to discuss this with the police? I slid into the back seat. Sophie turned from the passenger side, her smile razor-sharp. Did you really think we wouldn't be prepared? That we'd let you destroy everything we've built? Everything you stole, you mean? My voice sounded distant, hollow. We protected our legacy, Linda said, pulling onto the main road. You were supposed to be grateful for what we gave you, not demand more. Grateful? I laughed, and it came out like breaking glass. For stealing my inheritance? For forging documents? Sophie's smile widened. Prove it. Every signature we used matches yours perfectly. Every transaction has your digital fingerprints. Even your precious clients will testify that you've been acting erratically, making unauthorized decisions. Why? The question burned in my throat. Why go through all this? Linda's eyes met mine in the rearview mirror. Because you were never supposed to stay. Mark needed a wife for appearances, for the trust fund requirements. You served your purpose. My phone buzzed one final time. Emma again. Don't trust them. I have something you need to see. So what now? I asked, watching familiar streets slide by. Now? Sophie turned fully to face me. Now you sign these papers, admitting to everything. You leave town, never contact us again, and we don't press charges. She held out a manila envelope. Through the window behind her, I could see we were heading toward the house. My house. Or what I'd thought was mine. And if I refuse? Then we finish filing the police reports, Linda said calmly. All of them, including the ones about client theft, embezzlement, and fraud. Your choice. I took the envelope, feeling its weight. The weight of their perfect trap, their years of planning. But as we pulled into the driveway, I saw Emma's car parked across the street, and something else caught my eye. A small red light blinking in her dashboard. She was recording everything. Well? Sophie demanded. What's it going to be? I opened the envelope slowly, buying time. They thought they had me cornered, but they'd forgotten something crucial. I had nothing left to lose. Actually, I said, I have a counteroffer. Emma's apartment felt like a war room, scattered with documents and laptop screens showing security footage. The recording from her car played on repeat, Linda's voice crystal clear. Mark needed a wife for appearances, for the trust fund requirements. They didn't just want to frame you, Emma said, pointing to her screen. They needed to marry you specifically. I stared at the document she'd pulled up, my parents' will. How did you get this? I'm a paralegal, remember? I called in some favors. She highlighted a section. Your parents' estate included shares in Harrison Technologies. Small percentage, but significant enough that when combined with Mark's inheritance, they could control the company. The realization hit like a physical blow. That's why they chose me. They needed my shares. And now they need you gone, but not before transferring everything to them. Emma pulled up another document. Look at the date they started planning this. 3 months before you even met Mark. My phone buzzed. Sophie again. Time's running out. Sign or suffer. I turned to Emma. Show me everything. For the next hour, we pieced together their scheme. The fake romance, the rushed marriage, the careful manipulation of documents. They'd been patient, waiting years to spring their trap. "There's something else," Emma said quietly. She handed me a flash drive. "Security footage from your parents' accident. It wasn't random." My hands went numb. "What?" "The brake lines were tampered with. I can't prove who did it, but 3 days before the accident, guess who was seen near your parents' house?" The security footage showed Tom, Mark's father, wearing mechanic's coveralls. My phone rang. Mark this time. I answered on speaker. "Have you made your decision?" His voice was cold, unfamiliar. "Actually, I have some questions first." I kept my voice steady. "Like why your father was working on my parents' car 3 days before they died." Silence crackled across the line. Then, "You're desperate, Harmony. Making wild accusations won't help you." "No?" "Then explain why you married me exactly 3 months after their death, the minimum waiting period for accessing their shares." I watched the footage again. Tom's familiar figure moving with purpose. "Explain why your family needed those shares so badly. Sign the papers," he snapped. "Or tomorrow the police get evidence of your embezzlement, fraud, and now, harassment." "Funny thing about evidence," I said. "It works both ways. Check your email." I heard the notification ping through the phone, followed by sharp intake of breath. "You're bluffing," he whispered. "Am I? That's just a sample. I have more. Years of documentation, security footage, banking records, everything Emma and I have gathered. One call, and it all goes to the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. You'll implicate yourself, maybe. But I've got nothing left to lose, remember? You made sure of that." I leaned closer to the phone. "Here's my counteroffer. Return my inheritance, confess to the fraud, or I burn everything down, including proof of your father's involvement in my parents' death." "You wouldn't dare." "Try me." I ended the call, hands shaking. Emma touched my arm. "Are you sure about this? They could still hurt you." "They already have." I stood up, gathering the documents. "But now they know I can hurt them back." My phone lit up with texts. First Sophie, then Linda, finally Tom. Each message more desperate than the last. They'd underestimated me. Thought I was weak because I'd trusted them, loved them. "What's the next move?" Emma asked. I pulled up the email I'd drafted earlier, addressed to the Harrison Technologies Board of Directors. Attached were documents proving Mark and Sophie's mismanagement, the fraud, the theft. Everything except my parents' accident. That was my insurance policy. Now, I hit send. Now we watch them tear each other apart trying to save themselves. Emma's laptop pinged with notifications. The family's private chat exploding with accusations and threats. They were already turning on each other. "They'll come after you harder," Emma warned. "Let them." I watched the chaos unfold on screen. They taught me well how to lie, how to manipulate, how to destroy someone from the inside out. Time they learned what a good student I've been. My phone buzzed one final time. A message from Mark. "You've just started a war." I typed back, "No, I'm finishing one you started years ago." The board meeting was tomorrow. By sunset, the Harrison family's carefully constructed world would begin to crumble, and I would be there to watch every moment of their destruction. The Harrison Technologies boardroom felt like a tomb, all mahogany and muted lighting. I sat alone at the end of the table, watching board members file in, their faces carefully neutral. Mark and Sophie entered last, followed by their parents. None of them looked at me. "Before we begin," the board chairman said, "I understand Mrs. Harrison has evidence of financial irregularities she'd like to present." I opened my laptop, but before I could speak, Mark stood. "Actually, we have something to present first." He nodded to Sophie, who distributed folders to each board member. Evidence of extensive fraud and embezzlement perpetrated by my wife. My fingers froze over the keyboard. The documents they were reviewing weren't the ones I'd sent. They were perfect forgeries, showing my signature on transactions I'd never seen. "These are fake," I said, but my voice sounded thin even to me. Sophie smiled. "The banking records say otherwise, along with witness statements from clients describing your erratic behavior and unauthorized actions." The chairman frowned at the papers. "These are very serious allegations, Mrs. Harrison." "Check your email," I said. "I sent you proof of their fraud last night." "We received no such email," another board member said. My stomach dropped. I pulled up my sent folder. Empty. Somehow they'd accessed my account. Erased everything. I looked at Emma's seat. Empty. She should have been here with the backup files. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Emma's been detained. Car trouble. Shame about those backup files in her trunk. Mrs. Harrison! The chairman's voice cut through my panic. Do you have any evidence to support your claims? Linda spoke up, her voice trembling with practiced concern. We tried to help her. After her parents' death, she became unstable, started making accusations, trying to take control of assets that were never hers. That's not... I started, but Tom interrupted. We have security footage, he said quietly, of her accessing restricted accounts after hours, transferring funds. We didn't want to believe it, but... The board members exchanged glances. I watched my carefully constructed plan crumble as they nodded along with the fabricated evidence. I moved to suspend all of Mrs. Harrison's access immediately, Sophie said, and initiate a full investigation. Seconded, Mark added, not meeting my eyes. The vote was unanimous. Security guards appeared at my elbows, ready to escort me out, but I had one card left to play. Ask Tom about my parents' car, I said loudly. Ask him why he tampered with their brakes 3 days before their accident. The room went silent. Tom's face drained of color. More baseless accusations, Linda said quickly, but I saw the flash of fear in her eyes. We have footage, I pressed. Date stamped, showing me helping your father with routine maintenance, Tom cut in smoothly. Which he requested, as documented in these emails. He pulled out another perfect forgery, and I realized how thoroughly they'd covered every angle. The chairman cleared his throat. I think we've heard enough. Mrs. Harrison, please surrender your credentials and leave the premises. The authorities will be notified of our findings. As security led me out, I caught Mark's eye. For a moment, his mask slipped, and I saw something like regret. Then Sophie touched his arm, and he turned away. In the parking lot, my car's tires were slashed. Emma wasn't answering her phone. My bank accounts were frozen. They'd thought of everything, dismantled every piece of evidence, corrupted or threatened every witness. My phone buzzed one final time. Sophie, you should have taken our first offer. Now you'll lose everything. I sat on the curb, watching the sun set behind the Harrison Technologies building. They'd won. Completely, utterly won. I had no money, no evidence, no allies. Even Emma was gone, probably threatened into silence. A police car rolled slowly through the parking lot, the officer inside watching me. Soon they'd come with questions, with warrants, with handcuffs. The Harrisons would watch from their windows, satisfied that they'd finally destroyed me completely. But as I sat there, something strange happened. The despair didn't crush me. It crystallized. They thought they'd taken everything, but they'd forgotten something crucial. The truth about my parents' death. I might not have proof anymore, but I had certainty. And sometimes, certainty was enough. I stood up, brushing off my clothes. They wanted me desperate, broken, alone. Instead, they'd given me clarity. If I was going down, I'd make sure to drag their darkest secrets into the light with me. My phone buzzed again. An unknown number. Need a ride? Maybe I wasn't as alone as they thought. The annual Harrison Family Gala buzzed with nervous energy. Through the glittering crowd, I watched Sophie work the room, her designer dress a perfect match for her practiced smile. Mark stood with the board members, champagne in hand, while Linda and Tom greeted guests near the entrance. Emma's text flashed on my phone. Files uploaded. Ready when you are. I smoothed my black dress, the one Mark had bought me for our first anniversary, and moved toward the podium. The Harrisons hadn't noticed me yet, too busy basking in their apparent victory. 2 weeks of letting them think they'd won had made them careless. Ladies and gentlemen, I tapped the microphone, watching their heads snap up in unison. I'd like to propose a toast. Sophie started forward, but Mark grabbed her arm, his face pale. He knew that tone in my voice. To family, I continued, raising my glass. And to secrets, especially the ones we keep in safety deposit boxes. Tom's champagne glass slipped from his fingers, shattering on the marble floor. Harmony, Linda stepped forward, her smile brittle. This isn't the time. It's exactly the time. I nodded to Emma at the back of the room. The projector hummed to life, displaying banking records, the real ones, retrieved from Tom's secret vault. Would anyone like to explain why Harrison Technologies funds were used to bribe a mechanic 3 days before my parents' accident? The room went silent. On screen, transaction after transaction scrolled past, proof of their years of manipulation, including Tom's payment to the mechanic who'd later died in his own suspicious accident. Or perhaps, I continued, we should discuss the trust fund conditions? The ones requiring Mark to be married to access his inheritance? Sophie lunged for the podium, but security, my security, hired with Emma's help, blocked her path. You're making a mistake, Mark's voice cracked. We can still fix this. Fix what, Mark? The fraud? The theft? Or my parents' murder? I turned to the shocked crowd. They needed my shares to control the company. My parents wouldn't sell, so they eliminated the problem. Then they arranged our perfect romance, counting on my grief to make me vulnerable. Prove it, Sophie snarled, but her confidence was cracking. Already did. I gestured to the FBI agents emerging from the crowd. Everything's been verified. The agents have been building their case for weeks, ever since you tried to frame me at the board meeting. Linda collapsed into a chair, her carefully maintained facade crumbling. Tom reached for her, but an agent stepped between them. You could have had everything, Mark said quietly, handcuffs clicking around his wrists. We would have given you wealth, status. You killed my parents. My voice didn't shake. You stole my life and tried to destroy me when I discovered the truth. There's not enough wealth in the world to make that right. Sophie struggled against the agents holding her. You think you've won? You're nothing without us. No, Sophie, I was nothing with you. That was the point. I watched them being led away, these people who'd orchestrated my entire life. You taught me how to deceive, manipulate, and destroy. Consider this my final thank you. The room erupted in chaos, reporters pushing forward, board members demanding explanations, police securing evidence. Through it all, I stood at the podium, watching the Harrison family's empire crumble. Tom turned back at the door, his face ashen. How did you know about the safety deposit box? I didn't, I smiled. But I knew you'd never trust electronic records for the really damaging evidence. You're too old school. After that, it was just a matter of following Linda on her weekly visits to the bank. Mark stopped at the threshold, looking back one last time. For a moment, I saw the man I thought I'd married. Before the mask fell away completely. I did love you, he said. In my way. I know, that's what makes this perfect. I raised my glass to him. You taught me that love is the deadliest weapon of all. The doors closed behind them, and the sound echoed through the ballroom like a final heartbeat. Emma appeared at my side, squeezing my hand. Was it worth it? She asked softly. I watched the FBI agents boxing up evidence, the reporters scrambling to break the story, the board members already discussing emergency measures, years of planning, manipulation, and murder, all exposed in a single night. Ask me tomorrow, I said, setting down my untouched champagne. When justice finally feels like enough. The Harrison house stood empty now, a hollow monument to carefully crafted lies. I walked through each room with the estate agent, noting places where family photos once hung, where holiday dinners had been staged, where every moment of warmth had been calculated for maximum effect. The board is offering fair market value, she said, checking her tablet. Given the circumstances, they're eager to distance themselves from the Harrison name. I paused at the study doorway, remembering Mark's face the day they arrested him. I'll take it. Mrs. Harrison, Harmony, she hesitated. Are you sure? After everything that happened here? The trial had dominated headlines for weeks. Mark took a plea deal, turning on his family in exchange for leniency. Sophie faced 20 years for fraud and conspiracy. Tom's confession about my parents' death earned him life without parole. Linda had a breakdown on the witness stand, revealing decades of manipulation and deceit. I'm sure. I ran my hand along the mahogany doorframe. Some things need to be dismantled from the inside. Emma helped me pack up the remaining Harrison belongings. Evidence of a life meticulously designed to trap me. In Linda's closet, we found a box of photographs. Me at college events, long before I met Mark. They'd been studying me, planning their approach for years. What should we do with these? Emma asked. Leave them for the lawyers. I turned away, but something caught my eye. A slight discoloration in the closet's back panel. Wait. The panel swung open easily, revealing a hidden safe. Inside, I found what I'd been searching for since my parents died. Their original will, untampered with, along with letters they'd written about Harrison Technologies' illegal practices. They'd known. They'd been gathering evidence. They didn't just kill them to get their shares, I whispered. They killed them to stop them from exposing everything. Emma touched my arm. Does this change things? No. I closed the safe, tucking the documents away. It just means I finished what they started. The doorbell rang. Detective Morris, holding a thick envelope. Final paperwork from the DA's office, she said, following me to the kitchen. Mark's allocution statement. Thought you might want to read it. I left it unopened on the counter. Did he mention why? Why me specifically? Said you reminded him of someone, a girl from college who turned down his proposal. First time he'd failed at anything, she shrugged. His family helped him destroy her life too, became their pattern. Until now. Until now. She headed for the door, then turned back. The house. What will you do with it? Through the window, I could see the garden where Mark had proposed, where every calculated moment of our relationship had played out like scenes from a script. Turn it into something true, I said. That evening, as Emma left with the last boxes, I stood in the empty foyer. The Harrison legacy lay in ruins, their company reorganized, their reputation destroyed, their carefully constructed world dismantled, piece by piece. They'd taught me everything about revenge, thinking I'd never use it against them. My phone buzzed, a message from Mark's prison email. I underestimated you. I typed back, no, you overestimated yourself. Upstairs, in what was once our bedroom, I found one last surprise. A loose floorboard containing a small box. Inside were photos of my parents, surveillance shots from the days before their death. But behind those was something else. Pictures of me as a child, happy and free, taken years before the Harrisons chose me as their target. They'd watched me grow up, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. They'd studied my every weakness, planning to exploit them all. Instead, they'd given me the greatest strength of all, the ability to see through their lies. I placed the box with the other evidence and walked through the house one final time, turning off lights, closing doors. Tomorrow, contractors would begin transforming it into a shelter for survivors of financial abuse. The Harrison name would fade from its walls, replaced by something stronger, truth. Outside, the evening air carried the scent of approaching rain. I locked the door, pocketed the key, and walked away without looking back. They'd tried to write my story, but in the end, I'd rewritten theirs. Some might call it revenge. I called it justice. The rain began to fall, washing away the last traces of the family that had tried to own me. I smiled, feeling the drops on my face, and for the first time in years, every breath tasted like freedom.
The knife slips from my fingers and clatters against the marble countertop, splattering red sauce across my pristine white cookbook. I can hear them in the living room, Mark's voice rising like thunder, Tyler's sharp responses cutting through the walls. My latest blog post has stirred up the hornet's nest, just as I knew it would. I'm Addison, and this is the moment my carefully crafted life begins to splinter. You let her humiliate us online? Tyler's voice cracks with teenage fury. Everyone at school reads her stupid blog. Watch your tone, Mark snaps back. I'm handling this. I wipe my hands slowly on my apron, savoring the tremor of anticipation coursing through me. The post wasn't even that inflammatory, just a little story about family dynamics gone wrong, sprinkled with carefully chosen details that only they would recognize. The passive-aggressive masterpiece took me 3 days to perfect. Handling it? Like you handle everything else? Tyler's footsteps pound across the hardwood. By pretending nothing's wrong, I step into the doorway, shoulders squared. Mark's face is flushed, his perfectly pressed dress shirt wrinkled from gesturing. Tyler stands near the fireplace, fists clenched, looking so much like his father it makes my stomach turn. Everything okay in here? I keep my voice light, pleasant. The voice of the successful cookbook author and lifestyle blogger they've come to despise. Mark's eyes narrow. Take it down. Take what down, dear? Don't play stupid, Addison. That little story about the controlling father and his puppet son? Real subtle. I lean against the doorframe, crossing my arms. It's fiction, Mark. Creative license. My readers love family drama. Your readers? Tyler spits the words. You mean the thousands of strangers you feed our private lives to? They're called subscribers, honey. And they pay our bills. I smile, watching Mark's jaw clench. He hates that my blog makes more money than his middle management position ever did. I want it gone by morning, Mark says, each word measured and cold. Or we're going to have a serious problem. We already have a serious problem. I straighten up, dropping the pleasant mask. Several, actually. Would you like me to list them alphabetically or chronologically? Tyler storms past me, shoulder-checking me hard enough to make me stumble. The stairs thunder under his feet, followed by the slam of his bedroom door. Mark takes 2 steps toward me, close enough that I can smell his cologne. And something else, something floral that definitely isn't mine. You're pushing too far, he whispers. Remember who helped build your precious career. I meet his gaze, steady and unflinching. Remember who's been dismantling it piece by piece? He backs away, straightening his tie. The post comes down, Addison. End of discussion. I watch him grab his keys and briefcase, heading for the door at 9 p.m. Another late night at the office, no doubt. The front door closes with deliberate softness, worse than any slam. Back in the kitchen, I pull up my blog on my tablet. The post has already gone viral, screenshots spreading across social media like wildfire. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't contain it now. My finger hovers over the delete button for a moment before I close the browser. My phone buzzes with a text from Jason. You okay? Saw the post. Call if you need backup. I type back quickly. I'm fine. Everything's going according to plan. The house settles into silence around me, broken only by muffled music from Tyler's room. I pick up the knife again, wiping off the sauce. The blade catches the light, gleaming like a promise. This was just the first cut, surgical and precise. They have no idea what's coming next. I open my laptop and begin typing the next post. This one will be about secrets, lies, and a woman named Rachel who works too closely with her boss. Let's see how Mark handles that tomorrow morning. The old photos mock me from their silver frames. Mark and me on our wedding day, his arm possessively around my waist. Tyler's first baseball game, where Mark coached his team to victory. Happy moments frozen in time, preserved behind glass like museum pieces of a life I barely recognize. I'm arranging dinner plates when Mark finally emerges from his study, phone pressed to his ear. Yes, we'll review those numbers tomorrow, he says, voice dripping with that honeyed tone he reserves for important calls. Thanks, Rachel. You're a lifesaver. Rachel. The name hits me like a slap. I've seen it flash across his phone screen too many times lately, always accompanied by that little smile he thinks I don't notice. Important work call? I keep my voice neutral, sliding a casserole onto the table. Just wrapping up some quarterly projections. He loosens his tie, avoiding my eyes. Where's Tyler? Football practice, though I doubt he's actually there. Mark's head snaps up. What's that supposed to mean? I saw him downtown yesterday with those new friends of his, during practice hours. I serve the food with precise movements, but I'm sure you'll find a way to excuse it. Don't start, Addison. Not tonight. When should I start, Mark? When he fails senior year? When he gets arrested? He slams his hand on the table, making the silverware jump. Maybe if you hadn't driven him away with your constant criticism. My criticism? I laugh, the sound sharp as broken glass. That's rich, coming from the man who told him my career was just a hobby. Your little cooking blog was supposed to be a hobby. Now it's taken over everything. He stabs at his food. You've changed. Into someone you can't control anymore? The front door slams before he can answer. Tyler storms through, reeking of cigarettes and defiance. His girlfriend Lily trails behind him, looking uncomfortable. You're late, Mark says. Practice ran long. Tyler grabs Lily's hand. We're studying upstairs. Sit down, I say. Both of you. Family dinner isn't optional. Tyler sneers. We're not family. You made that clear in your blog. Tyler, Lily whispers, tugging his sleeve. Maybe we should... No. He yanks away from her. I'm sick of pretending everything's fine. You write about us like we're characters in your stupid stories, twisting everything to make yourself look good. I write the truth, I say, meeting his glare. Maybe that's what bothers you both so much. Mark pushes back from the table. Enough! Tyler, take Lily upstairs. We'll discuss this later. There's nothing to discuss. Tyler turns to leave, but Lily doesn't move. She's staring at her phone, face pale. Tyler, you should see this. He grabs the phone, color draining from his face as he reads. Mark's phone buzzes a moment later, then mine. The notifications pop up simultaneously. My latest blog post, already going viral. You promised to take it down, Mark growls. I promised nothing. I take a slow sip of water. And this one's different. This one's about a woman named Rachel, and all those late nights at the office. The silence that follows is absolute. Tyler looks between us, realization dawning in his eyes. Lily backs away, mumbling something about calling her mom. Mark's voice drops to a dangerous whisper. You have no idea what you've started. Actually, I do. I stand, gathering the untouched plates. I'm finishing what you started years ago, when you decided I wasn't enough anymore. Tyler bolts upstairs after Lily. Mark grabs his keys, hands shaking with rage. This ends now, he says. I'm calling my lawyer. Good. I smile, sweet as poison. Tell him to check your company emails while he's at it. I'm sure Rachel's kept copies of everything. He freezes, hand on the doorknob. For a moment, I see fear crack through his perfect facade. Then he's gone, tires squealing in the driveway. I pull out my phone and text Jason. It's done. Phase 1 complete. His reply comes instantly. You okay? I look around the empty dining room, at the family photos that tell such pretty lies. Never better, I type back. The real fun's about to begin. Upstairs, I hear Tyler's door slam, followed by muffled arguing. Soon he'll discover his private messages with Lily have been leaked too. Nothing too damaging, just enough to show the world who he really is. Like father, like son. I open my laptop and begin drafting tomorrow's post. They think this is about revenge. They have no idea it's about justice. Jason's coffee grows cold as he listens to my plan, his expression darkening with each detail. We're tucked away in the corner of his bookstore, surrounded by towering shelves that muffle our conversation. Mark's lawyer sent another cease and desist, I say, sliding the letter across the table. They're threatening to sue for defamation. Can they prove any of it's false? I shake my head. Everything I wrote is technically true. I just arranged the pieces to tell the right story. The bell above the door chimes. Tyler walks in with Lily, then freezes when he sees me. His face has that hollow look teenagers get when they're carrying too many secrets. Lily tugs at his sleeve, but he shakes her off and storms toward our table. You're ruining everything, he spits. Dad's firm is investigating him because of your stupid blog. Jason stands, protective instinct kicking in. Watch your tone, kid. It's fine, I say, keeping my voice steady. Tyler, we should talk about what's really going on. Like you care. You just want revenge because he found someone better. The words hit their mark, but I don't flinch. Someone better? Is that what he told you about Rachel? Lily steps forward, her voice barely above a whisper. Tyler, maybe you should tell her what you saw. He whirls on her. Shut up. Tell me what? I look between them, noting how Tyler's hands are shaking. Nothing, he snaps. Just stay out of our lives. He grabs Lily's arm, but she pulls away. I can't keep lying, she says. It's not just Rachel. There are others. The world tilts slightly. Jason's hand finds my shoulder, steadying me. You knew? I ask Tyler. All this time? Dad said you drove him to it. His voice cracks. Said you were too focused on your career, too busy becoming someone else. And you believed him? I saw the texts, Lily blurts. On his phone. When he left it at Tyler's game last week, there were at least 3 different women, all from work. Tyler lunges for her phone, but Jason steps between them. That's enough. Tyler, go cool off. You're choosing her over family? Tyler's eyes are bright with unshed tears. After everything she's done. She is family, Jason says quietly. The only one trying to save you from becoming just like him. Tyler backs away, shoulders rigid. I hate you, he tells me. I hope he takes everything from you. The bell chimes again as he leaves. Lily stands there, twisting her phone in her hands. I have screenshots, she says. If you want them. My fingers curl around my coffee cup, seeking warmth. Why would you help me? Because Tyler's changing, becoming cruel like his dad. Maybe if he sees the truth. She places her phone on the table. Just don't tell him it came from me. After she leaves, Jason slides the phone toward me. You don't have to look. Yes, I do. I unlock the screen, start scrolling through messages that confirm every suspicion, every doubt, every moment of gaslighting I endured. This is perfect. Addison. Jason's voice carries a warning. Think about Tyler. I am thinking about Tyler. He needs to see who his father really is. I forward the screenshots to myself. Mark made him choose sides. Now he'll have to live with that choice. And if this breaks him, then he'll learn what I learned, that sometimes you have to break before you can rebuild. Jason sighs, running a hand through his graying hair. What's your next move? I pull out my laptop, fingers hovering over the keys. A story about fathers and sons, about inherited lies and the weight of choices. He'll come after you harder this time. Let him. I start typing, each word a bullet in my arsenal. I'm done being the victim in his story. Through the bookstore window, I catch a glimpse of Tyler in the parking lot, slumped against his car. For a moment, I see the little boy who used to beg me to read him bedtime stories. Then he straightens, pulls out his phone, and his face hardens into Mark's mask. Sometimes, I tell Jason, the kindest thing you can do for someone is force them to face the truth. The truth I'm crafting will burn through their carefully constructed lies like acid, revealing the rot beneath. Mark thinks he's fighting to save his reputation. He hasn't realized yet that I'm fighting to save his son. The email from Rachel arrives at 3 a.m. Its timestamp a digital confession of sleepless guilt. I've been waiting for this, the inevitable crack in Mark's carefully constructed facade. My cursor hovers over the attachment labeled Financial Records. My mother's voice echoes in my head from our conversation yesterday. Revenge is like holding onto hot coals, hoping someone else gets burned. I click anyway. The spreadsheets tell a story that makes my published blog posts look like children's fairy tales. Wire transfers, offshore accounts, creative accounting that would make our tax auditor weep. Mark hasn't just been hiding affairs. He's been hiding money, lots of it. My phone buzzes. Derek, our neighbor, whose job at Mark's firm suddenly makes him invaluable. You need to come over, he says without greeting. Now. I find him in his garage, surrounded by boxes of documents. His hands shake as he hands me a manila folder. I was reviewing the quarterly reports when I found these discrepancies. Mark's been cooking the books for years. And you're showing me because? Because he's setting you up to take the fall. Derek pulls out more papers. Your signature's on half these documents, forged, but good enough to fool investigators. The garage feels too small suddenly, the walls pressing in. Why help me? Because 20 years ago, my wife did the same thing to me. I lost everything protecting her reputation. My phone chimes with a text from Tyler. Dad's having a breakdown. Thanks for destroying our family. Does Rachel know about this? I ask Derek. She's the one who helped him set it up, but now she's scared. The SEC's sniffing around. I spread the documents across his workbench, pieces of a puzzle I never wanted to solve. He made me sign blank papers during our marriage, said it was for insurance, tax stuff. I trusted him. Trust is a weapon in the wrong hands. Another text from Tyler. He's drinking again. If anything happens to him, it's your fault. Derek watches me read it. Mark was at the bar last night, telling anyone who'd listen that you're trying to destroy him. He's unraveling. Good. But my voice lacks conviction. Is it? Because right now you're holding evidence of major financial fraud, and your fingerprints are all over it. I start taking photos of the documents with trembling hands. I need to call Jason. Your friend, the bookstore owner? What's he going to do? His brother's a federal prosecutor. I pause, remembering something. And he keeps records of everything. I pull up my old emails, searching for specific dates. There, copies of every document Mark had me sign, sent to Jason just in case. Proof of my innocence, carefully preserved by paranoia, I didn't even know I had. My phone rings. It's Lily. Tyler's gone, she says, crying. He took his dad's gun and some money. He left a note saying he's going to fix everything. The photos slip from my hand, scattering across the concrete floor. What kind of note? Like a goodbye note. Please, I don't know what to do. Derek's already grabbing his keys. I'll drive. We peel out of the driveway as I dial Mark's number. Straight to voicemail. I try Rachel next. Where's Mark? How should I know? But her voice wavers. Tyler has his gun, Rachel. This isn't about affairs or money anymore. A sharp intake of breath. He said he was meeting Tyler at the lake house. Something about proving his love for you both. I hang up, turn to Derek. The lake house. Fast. My phone lights up with a final text from Tyler. You wanted to break him. Congratulations. Now watch what happens. The revenge I thought I wanted tastes like ashes in my mouth. I'd planned to destroy Mark's reputation, his career, his comfortable lies. Instead, I might have destroyed something far more precious. Derek pushes the speedometer higher as storm clouds gather overhead. What's your play here? I don't know anymore. I stare at the darkening sky, remembering Tyler as a child, learning to swim in that lake. I just know I can't let him become his father's last victim. Or mine. The lake house looms dark against the stormy sky, its windows reflecting lightning like camera flashes. Derek kills the headlights as we pull up, gravel crunching under the tires. Mark's car sits empty in the driveway, driver's door still open. Call the police, Derek says. I shake my head. They'll escalate things. Tyler's scared enough. Inside, rain drums against the roof as we move through rooms thick with memories. Family vacations, holiday gatherings, moments when we actually felt like a real family. A half-empty whiskey bottle on the kitchen counter leaves no doubt about Mark's state of mind. Dad? Tyler's voice echoes from upstairs, raw and desperate. Is that you? Derek reaches for his phone, but I grab his wrist. Let me handle this. Addison, Mark's voice now, slurred but dangerous. Come up and see what you've done to your family. I start up the stairs, each step creaking like an accusation. Derek follows, despite my gesture to stay back. Tyler, I call out, we can talk about this. Talk? Tyler laughs, bitter and broken. Like your blog talks about us? Making us into characters for your revenge story? I reach the top landing. They're in the master bedroom. Tyler by the window, Mark slumped in an armchair. The gun rests on Tyler's lap, his fingers tracing its outline. Put it down, son, Derek says from behind me. Don't call me that. Tyler's hand tightens on the weapon. You're just another one of her allies, everyone taking her side while Dad loses everything. Your father chose this path, I say, taking a careful step forward. The affairs, the fraud. Shut up! Mark lurches from his chair. You think you know everything? You think your little exposé makes you righteous? I know about Rachel, I say, and the others. I know about the offshore accounts. Tyler's head snaps up. What accounts? Don't listen to her, Mark sways, reaching for the gun. She's trying to turn you against me, like she always has. By telling the truth. My voice rises despite myself. Show him the transfers, Mark. Show him how you've been stealing from his college fund to pay off your mistresses. The gun wavers in Tyler's grip. Dad? Lightning flashes, illuminating Mark's face, no longer handsome, just hollow and afraid. I was protecting us. Everything I did was for this family. Was Rachel for the family? The words taste like poison. The accountant before her? The intern? Stop it! Tyler stands, gun pointed at the floor. Just stop destroying everything. Your father already destroyed it, Derek says quietly. Addison just exposed the wreckage. Mark lunges suddenly, grabbing for the gun. Tyler stumbles back, startled. The weapon discharges with a deafening crack. Time fragments like broken glass. Derek tackles Mark. Tyler drops the gun, horror spreading across his face, and I'm pressing my hands against Mark's shoulder, blood seeping between my fingers, while he stares up at me with something between hatred and recognition. You won, he whispers. Happy now? Tyler backs away, shaking. I didn't mean... I never wanted... Call an ambulance, I tell Derek, maintaining pressure on the wound. Tyler, look at me. This isn't your fault. Everything's my fault, he says. That's what you've been writing all along, isn't it? How I'm becoming him. Sirens wail in the distance as rain pounds against the windows. Mark's blood feels warm against my cold hands, and I remember other moments of intimacy turn to violence. Not physical, but emotional wounds that never quite healed. I wanted justice, I tell Tyler, my voice steady despite everything. But not like this. Never like this. He slides down the wall, wrapping his arms around his knees like he did as a child after nightmares. What happens now? I look at Mark, barely conscious, then at Derek calling emergency services, and finally at Tyler, 17 and terrified, caught in the crossfire of adult vendettas. Now we tell the truth, I say, all of it. No more blogs, no more secrets, just reality, however ugly it is. Lightning flashes again, and in that stark moment, I see my revenge for what it really is. Not justice, but a poison that's touched everyone I claim to be protecting. The sirens grow closer, promising questions I'm not sure how to answer. But as I hold pressure on Mark's wound, I realize some answers matter more than others, like how to stop a cycle of destruction before it claims another generation. The hospital waiting room smells like bleach and broken promises. Tyler sits 3 chairs away, handcuffed to a police officer, while Rachel paces by the vending machines in her designer heels. The click, click, click of her steps matches my heartbeat. Mrs. Harrison? The detective's badge catches the fluorescent light. We need to discuss the financial documents found at the lake house. My hands still feel sticky with Mark's blood. Now? Your fingerprints are on multiple fraudulent documents, and given your blog posts, we have evidence of premeditation. Tyler's head snaps up. Premeditation? Your stepmother may have orchestrated this entire situation. The detective's words cut through the antiseptic air. Including the shooting. Rachel stops pacing. I told you she was dangerous. Mark said a lot of things. I stand, legs shaking. Check the dates on those documents. Check the signatures. We did. He pulls out his phone, showing me an email. Including this one, where you discussed making him pay with someone named Jason. My stomach drops. Our private conversations, carefully encrypted, now twisted into evidence. Jason's support becoming a weapon against me. It wasn't her fault. Tyler's voice cracks. I'm the one who... Don't. I cut him off. Don't say another word. The surgery doors swing open. Evelyn hurries in, her face ashen. Addison, what have you done? Mom, They're charging you with conspiracy and attempted murder. Her hands tremble as she clutches her purse. The police just searched your house. They found everything. Everything? Rachel steps closer, vulture-like. The offshore account records, the forged documents, the emails about... Evelyn falters. About making it look like an accident. The detective moves toward me. Mrs. Harrison, you need to come with us. Those emails weren't about Mark. My voice sounds distant, hollow. They were about exposing the fraud. I was gathering evidence. While publicly threatening him on your blog? Rachel laughs sharply. You documented your entire revenge fantasy for the world to see. Tyler struggles against his handcuffs. She's lying. Dad was the one who... Tyler, stop. I meet his eyes,
seeing the scared little boy beneath the anger. "Don't make this worse. But they're twisting everything." He turns to the detective. "She was protecting me. Dad was the one with the gun. He had defensive wounds consistent with being attacked," the detective finishes, "and a history of being harassed by his ex-wife." Rachel produces her phone. "I have texts from Mark saying he was afraid of what she might do." Of course she does. They planned this, probably from the moment I started the blog. Every post I wrote, every piece of evidence I gathered, now weaponized against me. "Addison," Evelyn's voice breaks. "Please tell me you didn't plan this." I look at my mother's face, at Tyler's desperate eyes, at Rachel's triumphant smile. The revenge I thought I controlled has spiraled into something monstrous, consuming everything in its path. "I need my lawyer," I say quietly. The detective produces handcuffs. "Mrs. Harrison, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, financial fraud, and—" "She was protecting me!" Tyler shouts, tears streaming now. "Dad was stealing my college fund. He was lying about everything." "Tyler, enough!" My voice comes out sharper than intended. "This isn't your fault, any of it." As the detective reads my rights, I catch a glimpse of Mark's surgeon approaching. His expression tells me Mark will survive. Another twist of the knife. He'll live to spin his version of events, to play the victim while I face charges. "Mom," I whisper as they lead me away. "Take care of Tyler." Rachel's heels click, click, click behind us, probably already planning her next move. The detective's grip tightens as we pass the emergency room where Mark lies, surrounded by machines and morphine dreams. My revenge has come full circle, transforming me from victim to villain in one pull of a trigger. As the hospital doors slide open to a wall of waiting reporters, I realize Mark has won after all. He's made me into exactly what he always claimed I was, a monster of his own creation. The cameras flash like lightning at the lake house, capturing my fall from grace in high definition. The visiting room at the county jail smells like desperation and cheap coffee. Mark sits across from me, his arm in a sling, looking smaller without his expensive suits and practiced charm. Rachel hovers by the door like a well-dressed vulture, while our lawyers exchange whispers at opposite ends of the table. "You could have killed me," Mark says. "You're thinking of Tyler, the son you manipulated into pulling that trigger." His good hand clenches. "I want to make a deal." "No deals," Rachel interrupts. "We have her exactly where—" "Shut up!" Mark's voice carries an edge I haven't heard before. "This ends today." My lawyer slides a document across the table. "Full confession of the financial fraud. Sign it." "And destroy myself?" Mark laughs, but it sounds hollow. "That's your play?" I lean forward, keeping my voice steady. "Check your phone, Rachel. The SEC just received some interesting emails." She fumbles with her designer purse, face paling as she reads. "Mark, she's bluffing. She couldn't have—" "Derek kept copies of everything," I say. "Every transaction, every forged document, every deleted email, including the ones where you two planned to frame me." Mark's facade cracks slightly. "You're in custody. They have evidence. They have what you wanted them to see." I slide another paper forward. "But Tyler's girlfriend had her own evidence. The texts where you admitted stealing his college fund, where you planned this whole setup." Rachel moves toward the door, but a guard blocks her path. "It's over, Mark. My hands are steady now. Sign the confession, or I release everything, not just to the SEC, but to every media outlet that's been following this story." "You'll go down with us," Rachel snaps. "Maybe, but Tyler won't." I meet Mark's eyes. "That's the difference between us. I'm willing to burn if it means protecting him from becoming you." Mark stares at the confession, jaw working. "You planned this. Even in custody, you were still learning from the master of manipulation?" I smile without warmth. "You taught me well." A commotion outside draws everyone's attention. Through the window, I see Tyler being led in by officers, Lily and my mother beside him. He looks different, older, harder, but somehow clearer. He's here to testify, my lawyer says, about everything. The gun, the threats, the money, all of it. Mark's face crumples. Tyler wouldn't. Already did. I push a pen toward him. Your choice now. Sign and face the fraud charges alone, or let your son tell the world what kind of father you really are. Rachel grabs her things. I'm calling my lawyer. Too late. My lawyer holds up his phone. The SEC has already frozen your accounts, both sets of them. Mark picks up the pen with trembling fingers. As he signs, I see the man I once loved. Weak, scared, finally facing consequences. The victory tastes like ash. Was it worth it? He asks, pushing the signed confession back. Destroying our family for revenge? You destroyed us long ago. I stand as the guards move in. I just made sure Tyler survived the wreckage. Through the window, I watch Tyler hug Lily, his shoulders straight, no longer carrying his father's weight. My mother catches my eye, nodding once, proud, sad, understanding. Rachel's taken into custody first, her designer heels clicking one last time on the concrete floor. Mark follows, pausing at the door. I did love you, he says. Once. No. I gather the confession, my ticket to freedom. You loved controlling me. There's a difference. The guards lead him away as my lawyer starts making calls. In minutes, the charges against me will be dropped. In hours, the true story will hit the news. By tomorrow, Mark and Rachel's carefully constructed world will be ashes. But watching Tyler through the glass, seeing him choose truth over loyalty, justice over protection, I realized this was never about revenge. It was about breaking cycles, about showing him a different kind of strength. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't in destroying your enemy, but in refusing to become them. The guard comes to release me, and I step toward my future, leaving the taste of revenge behind. Steam rises from the hot springs like memories trying to escape. My mother sits beside me, her silver hair gleaming in the sunset, while Tyler and Lily splash in the deeper pool nearby. Their laughter echoes against the mountains, young and uncertain, but healing. Rachel made a deal with prosecutors, I tell my mother, watching ripples spread across the water. Full testimony against Mark in exchange for reduced charges. She nods, understanding the weight of what I'm not saying. And the blog? Deleted. Some stories need to end. Tyler swims closer, his face more open than I've seen it in years. Jason called. Dad's sentencing is tomorrow. Are you going? I ask. No. He looks at Lily, then back at me. But I wrote him a letter about everything. The water feels warmer suddenly, or maybe it's the pride warming my chest. Tyler chose truth over loyalty, strength over anger. He's becoming someone different than his father, than the angry boy who once pointed a gun at shadows. I knew about Mark's affairs, my mother says quietly. Long before you did. The admission hangs in the steam between us. Why didn't you tell me? Because you needed to find your own strength, not have it handed to you like some inherited wisdom. Tyler and Lily drift back to their pool, their whispered conversation carrying traces of future plans, college, dreams, possibilities unmarred by the past. I found this in the lake house. My mother pulls a photograph from her robe pocket. Mark and me on our wedding day, his arm around my waist. Both of us smiling at a future we couldn't see clearly. You should burn it, Tyler calls over. But there's no bitterness in his voice now. No. I let the photo float on the water. Some things shouldn't burn. They should just float away. My phone buzzes. Derek texting updates about the SEC investigation. I silence it without reading. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, legal battles, the slow untangling of financial webs. But tonight belongs to steam and stars and the sound of young love learning to trust again. You never told me, my mother says, if the revenge was worth it. I watch Tyler teach Lily to float, his hands gentle under her back, nothing like Mark's controlling grip. It wasn't revenge in the end. It was revolution. Against what? Lies. Control. The stories we tell ourselves about love and loyalty. I sink deeper into the water. I thought I wanted to destroy Mark, but I really wanted to free Tyler and myself. A shooting star streaks overhead, and Lily makes a wish out loud. Something about future happiness that makes Tyler blush. My mother squeezes my hand under the water, a gesture that speaks of pride and understanding and the quiet strength of women who survive. Your new book, she says. Will it tell this story? Not directly, but it'll be about transformation, about turning poison into medicine. The steam thickens as night falls, blurring boundaries between water and air, past and future. Somewhere in a jail cell, Mark awaits sentencing. His carefully constructed world collapsed into concrete walls. Rachel faces her own reckoning, her ambition turned to ashes in her designer mouth. But here, in this moment, their shadows can't reach us. Tyler laughs at something Lily whispers, the sound pure and unguarded. My mother hums an old lullaby, one she used to sing when nightmares came. And I feel the last traces of bitterness dissolve in the mineral-rich water. I have something to tell you both, I say, drawing their attention. I'm selling the lake house. Tyler's expression flickers. Where will we go for holidays? I bought a small cottage by the ocean. I meet his eyes. Sometimes you need salt water to heal old wounds. He nods, understanding the metaphor, the need to build something new from the ground up. Lily squeezes his hand, and my mother smiles, the kind of smile that says she knew all along where this journey would lead. The stars multiply overhead, reflecting in the dark water like scattered diamonds. Tomorrow will bring its own challenges, but tonight we float in transformation, letting the warm water wash away the last echoes of retribution, replacing them with something stronger than revenge. Hope.
My phone buzzed at 3:17 a.m. with a notification I'd never seen before. Shadow view alert. Subject has entered master bedroom. Heart rate elevated. I stared at the screen, my fingers trembling as I swiped to unlock it. More notifications flooded in, each one more invasive than the last. I'm Gabriella, and until tonight, I thought I knew what fear felt like. The space beside me in bed was empty, sheets cold. Michael's absence felt different this time, heavier somehow. The notification log showed my movements from the entire day. Every classroom I'd taught in, my lunch break in the teacher's lounge, even my stop at the grocery store. Each entry included precise timestamps, location coordinates, and bizarrely detailed physiological data. What the hell is this? I whispered, scrolling through hundreds of entries. My heart pounded against my ribs as I noticed Michael's name listed as the primary account holder. Footsteps creaked on the stairs. I quickly locked my phone and slid it under my pillow, forcing my breathing to steady. The bedroom door opened, and Michael's silhouette appeared. You're up late, he said, his voice carrying that practiced casualness I'd started noticing lately. Couldn't sleep. I watched him move through the darkness, noting how he checked his own phone before setting it face down on the nightstand. Everything okay at work? Just the usual crisis. He slipped under the covers, keeping to his side. The Singapore team needed emergency consultation. I felt the lie settle between us like a physical thing. The notification log had shown his location as Riverside Park just 20 minutes ago. Singapore, I repeated. Must be exhausting, all these late nights. Someone has to do it. He turned away from me. Try to get some sleep, Gabs. You have early classes tomorrow. My phone vibrated again under my pillow. I waited until Michael's breathing deepened before checking it. Shadow view alert. Subject's voice patterns indicate deception during recent conversation. My throat tightened. I opened my laptop as quietly as possible, searching for information about Shadow View. Nothing came up. No company website, no app store listing, no user forums. It was as if the software didn't exist. I texted Megan, my best friend since college and an IT security specialist. Need your help, emergency, call me before work. The response came immediately. You're scaring me, G. Give me 5. I slipped out of bed and locked myself in the ensuite bathroom, turning on the shower to mask my voice. When Megan called, I described the notifications, the tracking, Michael's lies. Jesus Christ, she breathed. This is serious spyware, Gab. Military-grade stuff. You can't let on that you know about it. What do I do? Don't touch anything yet. I need to see what we're dealing with. Can you meet me at lunch? Yeah, The bathroom door handle jiggled. Gabs? Michael's voice. Everything okay? Fine, I called back, my voice steadier than I felt. Just needed a shower. Couldn't sleep. At 3 a.m, I ended the call, flushing the toilet and running the tap. When I opened the door, Michael stood there, backlit by the bedroom lamp. For a moment, I saw something unfamiliar cross his face. Calculation, maybe. Or concern. You've been acting strange lately, he said softly. I forced a smile. Says the man who's been in Riverside Park instead of on calls with Singapore. His expression didn't change, but his eyes hardened. We stood there, measuring each other in the half-light, 16 years of marriage suddenly feeling like a house of cards. I think we need to talk, he said finally. My phone buzzed again in my hand. I glanced down before I could stop myself. Shadow view alert. Secondary subject has accessed primary monitoring interface. Initiating countermeasures. The screen went black. When I looked up, Michael was watching me with an expression I'd never seen before, and never want to see again. The next morning's breakfast felt like a minefield. Emily sat hunched over her cereal, scrolling through her phone while Michael typed furiously on his laptop. Neither of them noticed how my hands shook as I poured coffee. Dad, can you sign my permission slip for the coding camp? Emily's voice carried an edge I'd never heard before. It's due today. Michael barely glanced up. Just leave it on my desk. I'll look at it later. You said that 3 days ago. Emily's fingers tightened around her spoon. The deadline's today. I said I'll handle it. His tone made both Emily and me flinch. I watched our daughter's face close off, that familiar teenage mask sliding into place. But there was something else there, a flicker of knowledge, maybe fear. She caught me watching and quickly looked away. I'll sign it, I said, reaching for the paper. Michael's head snapped up. I've got it, Gabriella. The way he said my name, like a warning, made my skin crawl. I remembered last night's confrontation, how he'd watched me with those cold eyes before retreating to his home office without another word. My phone buzzed. Another shadow view notification. Subject's cortisol levels, indicating heightened stress. Recommend monitoring for unstable behavior. Emily stood abruptly. I'm going to be late. I'll drive you, I said, grabbing my keys before Michael could object. In the car, Emily stayed silent until we were 3 blocks away. Then, Mom, something's wrong with my phone. My grip tightened on the steering wheel. What do you mean? It's doing weird things. Like, it knows stuff it shouldn't know. She pulled out her device, showing me a screen full of notifications. See? It's tracking my sleep patterns, my conversations, even my mood based on my typing speed. Dad says it's just a new security feature from his company, but I pulled into an empty parking lot, killing the engine. Emily, when did this start? A few weeks ago, after I overheard. She stopped, chewing her lip. Overheard what? Dad on the phone with someone named Olivia. They were talking about implementation phases and test subjects. Mom, he sounded different, not like himself. The name hit me like a physical blow. Olivia. I'd seen it in Michael's emails before, always dismissed as just another colleague. There's something else, Emily continued, her voice dropping. Last night I tried to hack into the app's code, just to see what it was doing. But as soon as I started, my laptop crashed. When it rebooted, all my files were encrypted. And there was a message. First warning. My phone buzzed again. Warning. Subjects discussing restricted information. Initiating Protocol 7A. Emily's phone chimed simultaneously. Her face went pale. Mom. I looked at her screen. A single message displayed. Your father knows best. Trust the process. We need to get to school, I said, starting the car. Act normal, don't let him know we talked about this. But Mom, trust me, Emily, I'm going to fix this. At the school entrance, she hesitated before getting out. Be careful, Mom, I think he's watching all of us. I waited until she disappeared inside before calling Megan. Change of plans, meet me now, and leave your phone behind. Already on my way, she replied. Gabriella, I did some digging last night. This goes way deeper than spyware. Your husband's company. They're not just tracking people, they're controlling them. What do you mean? The app doesn't just monitor, it manipulates, changes text messages, alters photos, creates false records. It's like a digital puppet master, and Michael's one of the puppeteers. My phone lit up with a new notification. Warning, unauthorized contact detected, implementing corrective measures. The car's engine suddenly died. The doors locked themselves. And on my screen, a new message appeared. Time to come home, Gabriella. We need to talk about your behavior. I abandoned my car in the school parking lot and took Megan's advice. Ditched my phone, borrowed cash from the school secretary, and caught a bus downtown. The encrypted audio files I'd discovered on my phone that morning burned in my mind. I'd only managed to decrypt one before everything went dark. Michael's voice, intimate and warm, speaking to someone named Olivia about phase 2 of the implementation. The coffee shop where I met Megan was crowded enough to hide us, but quiet enough to talk. She slid a burner phone across the table. They can't track this one, she said, then pushed a laptop toward me. Watch this. Security footage played on screen. Michael entering a high-rise building downtown at midnight, followed by a tall woman in a red dress. The timestamp showed last Thursday when he'd claimed to be in Chicago. That's Olivia Chen, Megan said, Senior VP of Neural Technologies at Michael's company. They've been working on something called Project Shadow for the past year. Neural Technologies? My coffee went cold in my hands. What exactly does she do? Official answer, brain-computer interfaces for medical applications. Unofficial? Megan lowered her voice. They're developing ways to manipulate digital reality, change what people see, hear, even remember. A waiter approached. We fell silent until he passed. The spyware on your phone, that's just the surface, Megan continued. They're testing something bigger, something that can alter. The cafe's TV suddenly switched from sports to security footage of me and Megan sitting right there. Text scrolled across the bottom. Subject located, intervention team en route. We need to move. Megan grabbed her laptop. Now. We hurried toward the back exit, but a familiar voice stopped me cold. Leaving so soon? Olivia Chen stood blocking our path, elegant in a tailored suit, her smile sharp as broken glass. Michael appeared beside her, his hand resting possessively on her lower back. Gabriella, he said, you're making this much harder than it needs to be. Am I? My voice shook with rage. Like how you made our marriage harder by sleeping with her. This isn't about us. Olivia stepped forward. It's about something much bigger. We're reshaping reality itself, making a better world. By spying on your own daughter, the words tasted like acid. By manipulating people's lives. By controlling the chaos, Michael countered. Think about it, Gabs. No more lies, no more uncertainty. Complete digital oversight of every interaction, every relationship. Pure truth. That's not truth, Megan spat. That's tyranny. Olivia's smile widened. Speaking of truth, Gabriella, did you know your friend here has been feeding information about you to us for months? My head snapped toward Megan. She wouldn't meet my eyes. I had to, she whispered. They have my sister. The betrayal hit like a physical blow. While I reeled, Michael moved closer, his voice softening to that familiar tone that used to mean safety. Come home, he said. Help us perfect this. Think of the good we could do. No more deception, no more betrayal. Everyone connected, everyone accountable. Everyone controlled, I corrected. Like you're controlling Emily? Something flickered in his eyes. Doubt, maybe guilt. Olivia noticed too. Her hand tightened on his arm. "Emily's young," she said smoothly. "She needs guidance, structure, just like you do." My phone, the one I'd supposedly abandoned, suddenly appeared in her hand, screen glowing. Audio played, my voice, twisted and wrong, confessing to crimes I'd never committed. "Digital reality is whatever we say it is," Olivia explained. "Remember that when you're deciding whose side you're on." I looked at Michael, searching for any trace of the man I'd married. "What happened to you?" "I evolved," he said. "The question is, will you?" The cafe's lights flickered. Every screen, phones, laptops, the TV, displayed the same message: choose now. I thought of Emily, of her encrypted files and frightened eyes, of 16 years of marriage unraveling into something monstrous, of truth warping like a reflection in broken mirror. I made my choice. "Go to hell," I said, and threw my scalding coffee in Olivia's face. The chaos that followed gave me just enough time to run, leaving everything behind except one certainty. This wasn't about saving my marriage anymore. It was about saving my daughter from whatever dystopia they were building, one manipulated truth at a time. The motel room smelled like old cigarettes and desperation. I'd been here 3 days, paying cash, using the name Anna Walsh. The burner phone Megan gave me, before her betrayal, sat silent on the nightstand, my only connection to the world I'd left behind. A knock at the door made me freeze. 3 quick taps, pause, 2 more. Our signal. Emily slipped inside, backpack clutched to her chest. "Dad's going crazy looking for you. He's got the police saying you're mentally unstable, that you attacked Olivia and kidnapped me last week." "But you've been at school," I said, checking the parking lot through a gap in the curtains. "Exactly. The security footage showing me there, it's gone. Replaced with video of you dragging me into a car." She pulled out her laptop. "Look." The news website showed grainy footage of me forcing a struggling Emily into a sedan. It looked real. It looked damning. "They're rewriting history," Emily whispered. "And it's not just this. My friends are getting texts from my number saying scary things. Teachers are receiving emails in your name, threatening them." My hands clenched. "What about the coding camp files, the ones you encrypted?" "Gone. But..." She hesitated, then pulled something from her backpack, a small silver USB drive. "I found this in Dad's office. It's got financial records, emails between him and Olivia, going back 3 years. Mom, they're not just manipulating social media and security cameras. They're changing bank statements, medical records, court documents." A new knock at the door, different pattern. Emily's eyes widened in fear. "Gabriella?" A man's voice, unfamiliar. "I'm Alex. Megan sent me before." "Everything. We need to talk." I grabbed Emily's hand, moving toward the bathroom's window, but she pulled back. "Wait," she whispered. "I vetted him. He's clean, former cop, specializes in tech crimes. And he's not in any of Dad's files. My daughter becoming an investigator while I was hiding in cheap motels. The pride hurt almost as much as the fear. I opened the door. Alex was older than I expected, with tired eyes and a detective's watchful stance. He took in the room, Emily, me, then held up his phone. "They're moving faster than we thought," he said. "Your husband just filed for emergency custody, claims you're having a psychotic break, that you've been stalking him and Olivia for months. They've got evidence, therapist reports, prescriptions, police statements. All fake, all perfect." "How long?" I asked. "Before they find you. Days, maybe hours. They're burning your whole life down, Gabriella. Job, reputation, relationships, all of it." Emily's laptop chimed. She went pale reading the screen. "Mom." She turned it toward me. "They're in my school records now. Changing grades, attendance, everything. It's like they're erasing me too." Alex moved to the window. "We need to go." "Oh, now, I've got a safe house." "No." The word came out harder than I intended. No more running, no more hiding. I took the USB drive from Emily. "We've got proof, real proof." "They'll just alter it," Alex said.
make it look fake. Not if we make it public first. Not if we show everyone how deep this goes. I looked at Emily. Can you crack their encryption? Get into the Shadow View network. She straightened, suddenly looking older than 16. With help, I know some people, hackers who hate this kind of corporate surveillance. But Mom, if we do this, I know, no going back. Alex checked his phone again. Whatever you're planning, make it fast. Your husband just called an emergency press conference for tomorrow morning. Emily's fingers flew across her keyboard. He's going to use it to destroy you completely, make you look like a dangerous stalker who needs to be locked up. I thought of Michael's words in the cafe. Digital reality is whatever we say it is. But he'd forgotten something crucial. Reality itself still existed underneath all their manipulations, and I was done letting them control the narrative. Then we'll crash his press conference, I said. Show everyone exactly who's really dangerous. I turned to Alex. How good are you at creating a scene? He smiled for the first time. Former cop, remember? I'm excellent at scenes. Emily looked up from her laptop, her expression a mirror of my own determination. I've made contact. My hacker friends are ready. We can shut down their whole network. Good, I said, feeling the weight of the USB drive in my hand. Because tomorrow we're going to show the world what digital truth really looks like. The corporate headquarters loomed above us, all glass and steel reaching into the morning sky. Emily's hacker friends had come through. We had access to the building's security network, but only for 20 minutes. Just enough time to infiltrate Michael's press conference and expose everything. Mom! Emily grabbed my arm as we crossed the lobby. There's something else on the drive. Something about Megan's sister. Alex tensed beside us. Now's not the time. It's encrypted differently, Emily continued, her voice shaking. But I recognize the file structure. It's the same as the blackmail folders they keep on their targets. The elevator doors closed behind us. Level 42, where Michael would be presenting his carefully crafted lies to the media. They're not just watching people, Emily whispered. They're collecting leverage on everyone. The implications hit me like a physical blow. How many lives had they already destroyed? How many more would they ruin if we failed? Alex checked his watch. 15 minutes until the conference. Security's rotating shifts now. The elevator stopped at level 30. A woman in a sharp suit entered. Her perfume familiar. My heart stopped. Olivia, I said. She smiled, but her eyes were cold. I wondered when you'd show up. Michael's been looking forward to it. I bet he has. I shifted, putting myself between her and Emily, planning to destroy my reputation in front of the whole city. Oh, that's already done. She held up her phone. Right now, every major news outlet is receiving evidence of your history of mental instability, your stalking, your violent tendencies. All fake. Does it matter? Digital truth, remember? She glanced at Emily. Though I am surprised you'd drag your daughter into this, especially given what's on that drive she stole. Emily stiffened. What are you talking about? Ask your mother about the real reason she became a teacher, about what happened at her last school. Olivia's smile widened, or should I say, what she made happen. The elevator stopped again. Level 40. You're lying, I said, but doubt crept in. How deep did their manipulation go? How far back could they change the past? Are we? Olivia stepped closer. Check the drive. Section 7. File marked Preston Academy. But hurry, you've only got about 10 minutes before security finds your little hacker friends. The doors opened. Olivia stepped out, then turned back. Oh, and Gabriella? Michael wanted me to tell you. Emily's acceptance letter to MIT. We wrote that too. Every achievement, every success. We gave her those. Makes you wonder what's real, doesn't it? The doors closed on Emily's shocked face. She's lying, Alex said quickly. They're trying to get in your head. But Emily was already pulling out her laptop, fingers flying across the keys. Mom, there's a file. It's opening. We don't have time, I said, but my voice sounded hollow. The press conference. Got it. Emily's face went pale. Mom, what did you do? The elevator stopped at level 42. Through the glass walls, I could see the media setting up, Michael at the podium doing sound checks, everything we'd planned, all our evidence, waiting to be revealed. But Emily's eyes held something worse than Olivia's accusations. Doubt. We can't trust anything they show us, I said, reaching for her laptop. They manipulate everything, remember? She pulled away. This isn't manipulated. These are original files from before Shadowview existed, about why you really left teaching in Boston. The conference room doors were right there. All our planning, our chance to expose everything, slipping away with each second. Emily, please. I held out my hand. Trust me. She looked at the laptop, then at me. Did you? Alex checked his watch. 2 minutes. Through the glass, I saw Michael spot us. His smile was my own reflection, twisted and wrong. He knew. He'd always known we'd come, and he'd prepared the perfect trap, not with security or police, but with truth. The one weapon I thought I had against him. Mom, Emily's voice cracked. What really happened at Preston Academy? The conference room doors opened. Cameras turned toward us, and I had to choose, expose Michael's lies or face my own. The truth about Preston Academy spilled across every screen in the conference room. Not Michael's manipulated version, but the real story, my story. Security footage showed me confronting the school principal about covering up student abuse, threatening to expose everything. Then the mysterious fire in the administrative office, destroying evidence that could have saved those kids. Mom, Emily's voice cracked as she stared at the footage. You did this? Michael's smile grew wider at the podium. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, this is exactly what I've been trying to protect our daughter from. A mother who burns down schools when she doesn't get her way. They were hurting children, I said, but my voice sounded hollow even to me. The principal, he was destroying evidence. So you destroyed everything? Emily stepped away from me. Like you're trying to destroy Dad? Alex moved between us and the cameras. We need to go, now. But Michael wasn't finished. What my wife fails to mention is that her actions didn't save anyone. The abuse continued. The only thing that burned was the truth. He turned to Emily. Just like she's burning your future now. Olivia appeared beside him, holding up her phone. Speaking of futures, perhaps we should show everyone what else is on that drive. The real reason behind Emily's perfect grades, her MIT acceptance. Emily's face went pale. What is she talking about? Don't listen to them, I pleaded. They manipulate everything. Except we didn't manipulate this. Michael pressed a button, and new footage appeared. Me, in the school's computer lab late at night, changing Emily's grades, fabricating recommendation letters, building a false future for my daughter. No. Emily's hand shook as she opened her laptop. That's not... I earned those grades. I did the work. Did you? Olivia's voice was silk over steel. Check your own files, Emily. The ones you encrypted yourself. Compare them to what the school has on record. I watched my daughter's world crumble as she saw the truth. Every achievement she'd been proud of, tainted by my desperate need to protect her, to ensure she had opportunities I never had. Why? She wouldn't look at me. Why would you do this? Because she doesn't trust anyone else to take care of you, Michael said softly. Not even you. Security guards appeared at every exit. Alex tensed, reaching for something under his jacket. Don't, I whispered. It's over. Is it? Michael's voice carried across the silent room. Or is this where you burn everything down? Again, Gabriella. Try to destroy the evidence of what you've done. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. But all I could see was Emily's face as she backed away from me, toward Michael and Olivia. Emily, please. I took a step forward. Everything I did was to protect me. Her laugh was bitter, familiar. My laugh. By lying, by making me believe I was something I'm not. You are exactly who you think you are, I said desperately. Your mind, your talent, is real, Michael finished, which is why we're offering Emily a choice. Stay with your mother, who manipulates your life from the shadows, or come with us. Learn to use your actual abilities at our tech division. No more lies, no more false achievements. Emily looked at her laptop, then at me. I saw the decision in her eyes before she spoke. I'm sorry, Mom. She closed the laptop, but I need to know what's real. She walked across the room, each step widening the gulf between us. Olivia put an arm around her shoulders, victorious. Take her. Michael nodded to the security guards. My wife needs help, not an audience. As they approached, I realized the truth. I'd come to expose Michael's lies, but my own had destroyed everything. Preston Academy, Emily's future, our family, all burned by my need to control, to protect, to force reality into the shape I thought it should be. Wait, Emily said suddenly, turning back. I want to know one thing. That night, when the school burned, did you really think you were helping? I met her eyes across the room, saw the desperate need to understand, to find something real in all the lies. I thought I could fix everything, I whispered. I'm still trying to fix everything. She nodded once, then let Olivia lead her away. The last thing I saw before security reached me was Michael's smile, not triumphant now, but almost sad. Some things, he said softly, can't be fixed, Gabriella. Only controlled. The holding cell was cold, but the laptop Alex smuggled in burned hot against my legs. 3 hours since they'd arrested me. 2 since Emily had texted, something's wrong, meet at Riverside Park, midnight. I knew it was a trap. But when your daughter calls, you answer. The laptop pinged. Emily's hacker friends had come through. Security footage from Michael's company played across the screen, showing what really happened at that press conference. Olivia forcing Emily into a car. Michael's smile slipping when the cameras turned away. And something else. Fragments of code revealing Shadowview's true purpose. It wasn't just surveillance. It was reconstruction. Total digital control of reality itself. Alex appeared at my cell door. Ready? The lock clicked open. No alarms, no guards. Emily's friends were good. They're waiting at the park. He said to Sam. But Gabriella, Emily's last message came from inside their main server room. My heart stopped. She's trying to shut it down. Riverside Park was shadow and silence when we arrived. Olivia stood by the water, Emily's laptop open in her hands. No Michael, no Emily. Quite the daughter you've raised, Olivia said without turning. Broke through our best encryption in hours. Found things even we'd forgotten were there. Where is she? Learning. Olivia finally faced me. About power, control, the things her father and I built Shadowview to perfect. She smiled. The things you tried to teach her, in your own clumsy way. By manipulating people's lives. By directing them, like you directed those grade changes, those college recommendations. Her smile widened. That fire at Preston Academy. I was trying to protect you. Everyone says that. She closed the laptop. Michael said it when we started this project. Control to protect, manipulation to save. But you know what we really discovered? She stepped closer. People want to be controlled, need it, even Emily. A twig snapped behind me. Michael emerged from the shadows, leading Emily. Her hands flew across a tablet, eyes fever bright. Show her, Michael said softly. Emily turned the tablet toward me. Lines of code scrolled past, but I recognized the pattern, the same code I'd used to change her grades. You taught me well, Mom. Emily's voice was strange, distant. About control, about making reality what we want it to be. Emily, whatever they're promising you, they're not promising anything. She looked up and I saw something terrible in her eyes, understanding. They're showing me what I already am, what you made me. What we all are, Olivia added, architects of truth. And now, thanks to Emily's improvements to Shadowview, we can rewrite everything, not just records or surveillance, but memory itself. Digital consciousness, perfectly controlled. Alex tensed beside me, reaching for his gun, but Emily was faster. The tablet flashed, and Alex froze, eyes going blank. Neural interface, Michael explained proudly. Emily's innovation, direct digital control of human consciousness. I watched my daughter smile, my smile twisted into something unrecognizable. Want to see how it works, Mom? How reality bends when you have real control. The air itself seemed to ripple. Trees shifted, shadows danced. I felt something pressing against my mind, trying to rewrite my thoughts. But in that moment, I saw something else. A flash of fear in Emily's eyes, a tremor in her hands. "You're right," I said quietly. "I taught you about control, but I never taught you about choice." I pulled out the laptop, opened the files we'd found. "Look at what they're really doing, Emily. Not protecting, not directing, erasing. Every choice, every free thought, gone." Her tablet wavered. "They're helping people. Like I helped you? By taking away your real achievements." I stepped forward. "I was wrong, Emily. About Preston Academy. About your grades. About everything. Control isn't protection. It's prison." The park flickered again, reality bending. But this time, I saw Emily's fingers moving differently on the tablet. Not controlling. Destroying. "Dad?" Her voice shook. "What's really in the Shadow View core code?" Michael lunged for the tablet, but it was too late. Emily had seen the truth, and she was her mother's daughter after all. The night exploded in cascading waves of broken code, as every digital lie we'd all built came crashing down around us. The police lights painted Riverside Park in alternating red and blue as they led Michael and Olivia away. Emily sat on a bench, her tablet dark and silent, staring at the fractured remains of Shadow View's servers scattered across her screen. "All those people they controlled," she whispered as I sat beside her. "Their memories, their lives. What happens to them now? They get their choices back." I watched Alex talking to the FBI cybercrime unit, explaining how deep the manipulation went, even the painful ones. "Like knowing your mother changed your grades," her voice cracked, "or that your father wanted to rewrite your mind." I started to reach for her, then stopped myself. "Emily, I saw it all, Mom, in the code." She finally looked at me. What they were planning, total digital consciousness control. And I almost helped them perfect it. "But you didn't. Because you showed me the truth." She laughed bitterly. "Ironic, right? The liar teaching honesty." Across the park, Olivia was arguing with the officers. I caught fragments. "My sister, they'll kill her if—" "You don't understand." Emily followed my gaze. "She wasn't lying about that part. I found the files. They're holding her sister hostage somewhere, using Shadow View to track her every move. Then we'll find her." I pulled out the laptop. The right way this time. No manipulation, no control. "Just truth?" Emily's fingers hovered over her tablet. "Even when it hurts?" "Especially then." She nodded slowly, then began to type. "I saved something. Before destroying the servers, every real record, every unaltered file, including yours, from Preston Academy." My hand stilled on the keyboard. "Emily, you didn't start the fire." Her voice was quiet. "The principal did, when he realized you'd copied the evidence. I found the original security footage." She looked up. "You tried to save those kids, and he burned everything to stop you. Then made you believe it was your fault. The truth I'd carried for years cracked open, letting in light. But you still changed my grades," she continued. "Still tried to control my future." "Yes. Why?" "Because I thought I could protect you from pain by controlling the outcome." I watched Michael being placed in a police car. Like father, like mother. Emily's tablet chimed. A message from her hacker friends. "Hidden server located. Olivia's sister found." "Mom?" Emily's voice had changed, grown somehow. "I need to tell you something. About MIT." She took a deep breath. "I knew about the grade changes. I found them months ago before any of this started, and I changed them back, applied with my real grades." "What?" She pulled up an email on her tablet. "I got in yesterday, for real this time." Pride and shame warred in my chest. "Emily, I'm so—" "I know." She stood, offering me her hand. "Come on, we have a sister to save, and I think—" I think maybe we both need to learn how to help people without trying to control them. As we walked toward Alex and the FBI agents, my phone buzzed one last time. A final shadow view notification. System purge complete. Digital consciousness protocols terminated. Human choice protocols restored. They'll try again, Emily said, reading over my shoulder. Maybe not Dad and Olivia, but someone will try to control reality like this. Probably. I squeezed her hand. But they'll have to get through us first. She smiled, not my smile anymore, but entirely her own. Think we can handle it, without burning anything down or rewriting any code? I looked at my daughter, seeing her clearly for the first time. I think we'll choose to try. My phone chimed again. An unknown number, but the message was clear. This isn't over. Some truths can't be deleted. Emily read it and nodded. Good, she said firmly. They shouldn't be. Together, we walked into the dawn, leaving digital shadows behind, choosing instead the harder path of unfiltered light.